The frenzy on the interstellar net continued to brew. 12 deep blue orbital particle cannon beams locked onto the Imperial fleet's vital points, crushing the pride of countless people into the dust. Within a mere 3 hours, the Lin clan stocks crashed across the board and were suspended from trading. Hatred and outrage toward the Lin clan flooded every corner of the interstellar net. Down on Earth's farm, Lin Feng paid no mind to the storm raging outside. He stood at the kitchen stove, wearing a gray apron. Sizzling sounds rose from the frying pan. Golden, crispy fried chicken legs tumbled in boiling oil, and the rich aroma of meat and grease drifted through the air. Anna squatted in the kitchen doorway. Streaks of dark mud streaked her cheeks, her hair was a mess, and her eyes were fixed firmly on the frying pan. She swallowed repeatedly. Not a trace remained of the Imperial princess's usual poise and icy dignity. Lin Feng used long chopsticks to fish out a large chicken leg, let the excess oil drip off, placed it on a plate, and carried it outside. A top-tier psychic and Imperial princess, squatting here looking like a beggar. Lin Feng set the plate down on the stone table and teased without mercy. Anna pounced forward with a yelp and grabbed the chicken leg, shoving it straight into her mouth. "It's hot. So hot." She gasped from the scalding heat, yet kept tearing at the crispy skin and tender, juicy meat. "Delicious. Absolutely amazing. Lin Feng, your cooking skills are incredible," she mumbled with her mouth full. "But you've stirred up such a huge commotion. My father, the Emperor, will definitely send people to pester you. You'd better be prepared." Lin Feng pulled over a rattan chair and sat down. Before he could speak, the communicator on his wrist chimed. A holographic projection of Li Xinghe popped up over the highest security channel. This 100-year-old business legend was so excited his voice trembled. "Brother Lin, Professor Murphy's paper has driven the interstellar elite completely wild. My communicator is practically blowing up." Li Xinghe took a deep breath to calm himself. "This is the peak of your reputation, and your farm produces value. I propose we hold an online auction for Earth's agricultural goods right away and maximize our gains." Lin Feng stroked his chin. Truly an old fox, with an unerring business instinct. "Agreed," Lin Feng nodded. "But I have one condition." "Speak." "Xinghe Group will give you our full support. This auction will not accept Imperial credit points." Lin Feng leaned back in his chair, his tone relaxed. "I want hard assets from ancient Earth, such as gold, or rare metal or veins. Alternatively, top-tier Imperial military hardware and scientific research instruments. Barter only." Li Xinghe froze for a moment. Then he understood instantly and slapped his thigh. Credit points were controlled by the Imperial Central Bank and could be frozen at any time. Tangible supplies and technology, however, were tangible assets that could arm Earth. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Li Xinghe gave a thumbs up. "I'll get to work immediately." In less than half an hour, Xinghe Group put up a banner on the Interstellar Net homepage announcing the auction rules. The entire interstellar community erupted in shock. Not only Imperial nobles and financial magnates, but also shadowy underground black market kingpins and interstellar pirate factions were stirred into action. Countless people rushed to sell off their assets, scrambling to gather rare ores and high-tech equipment. Inside the Imperial Academy of Sciences, Professor Murphy stared at the auction preview, pacing frantically inside his laboratory. "Those bureaucrats in the military. They cut our funding." Murphy ground his teeth, then glanced at two recently decommissioned machines in the corner. "Go. Dismantle those two dark matter fission analyzers," he roared at his assistants. "I'm going to use them to bid from Lin Feng for cucumbers." His assistants paled. "Professor, those are the director's most prized possessions. Quit arguing. Tear them down. I'll take full responsibility." 3 days later, the highest-ranked diplomatic mission assembled by the Imperial Emperor arrived in Earth's orbit. Duke Austin, head of the mission, stood on the flagship's bridge and watched the radar display. The 12 orbital particle cannons remained fully charged and locked, their deep blue glow inspiring dread. The enormous starship hung in space, not daring even to activate its shields. Austin steeled himself and sent a landing request over the public channel, his tone exceedingly deferential. "Respected Mr. Lin Feng, the Imperial mission requests permission to land. We come bearing the Emperor's goodwill. Land on any open stretch of ground." Lin Feng's lazy voice came through the communicator. The starship descended cautiously onto a patch of wasteland outside the farm. The instant the hatch opened, a dense wave of life-rich energy mixed with the scent of soil washed over everyone. Environmental monitoring devices carried by every member of the mission blared shrill alarms, their readings maxing out instantly. Several elderly nobles suffering from severe genetic degeneration drew deep breaths. Every pore in their bodies seemed to relax. The chronic genetic pain that had plagued them for years noticeably subsided. Is this paradise? One elderly noble teared up on the spot. Austin fought to contain his awe, straightened his formal noble attire, and prepared to greet this mysterious powerhouse with the Empire's most solemn rituals. He led his entourage toward the farm's courtyard. Yet, the moment they stepped onto the farm, every member of the mission froze, their worldviews shattered. There stood their revered imperial Princess Anna, once afflicted with severe appetite loss, cold and untouchable. She was wearing rough linen clothes, trouser legs rolled up to her knees, covered in mud. Crouched on a field ridge, she held a bowl larger than her face and shoveled mouthfuls of stir-fried pork with chili into her mouth, eating noisily. Grease glistened around her lips, with no trace of elegance. Princess Anna? Austin's voice cracked. Anna did not even lift her head, waving her chopsticks. Leave me alone. I'm eating. Austin wiped sweat from his forehead and turned toward Lin Feng, who sat drinking tea in the courtyard. He stepped forward hastily and stammered through the Emperor's edict. Mr. Lin Feng, His Majesty greatly admires your talents. Should you wish it, the Empire will confer upon you the rank of first-class Duke, and Earth shall become your hereditary domain. Austin lowered his voice and dropped a heavy hint. Furthermore, His Majesty would be pleased to see you enter a union with Princess Anna. You would then become a member of the imperial royal family. Lin Feng blew on the tea leaves in his cup and refused without hesitation. I'll pass on the dukedom. I'm just a farmer. I can't stand all your empire's stuffy rules. As for the political marriage, Lin Feng glanced dismissively at Anna squatting on the ridge and spoke without restraint. No way. She eats far too much. 3 huge bowls per meal. I'm afraid she'll eat my little farm into bankruptcy. Anna nearly spat out her rice. She jumped to her feet, brandishing her chopsticks and glaring at Lin Feng. Lin Feng, who are you calling a big eater? Do you want this bowl smashed over your head? The atmosphere turned excruciatingly awkward, yet oddly comical. The mission members fought hard to hold back laughter, their faces turning purple from the effort. Having failed to secure Lin Feng's surrender, Austin dared not lose his temper and fell back on an alternative plan. If that is the case, the royal house will take official part in your auction tonight. Austin bowed respectfully. Lin Feng nodded with a smile, picked up a bright red tomato from a nearby basket, and handed it to Austin. You've traveled a long way. Take this as a greeting gift. Austin accepted the tomato, overwhelmed by the honor, and took a tentative bite. Sweet sour juice burst across his tongue. He froze completely. His psychic power, which had stagnated for 10 years, showed clear signs of stirring. Austin looked up at Lin Feng, his expression transformed into that of an almost fanatical devotee. Thank you for your gift, Mr. Lin Feng. He bowed at a full 90 degrees, his voice booming. Lin Feng waved him off and glanced at the time. 5 hours remained until the auction opened. The real harvest was about to begin. At 8 o'clock in the evening, inside the Interstellar Net's virtual auction house, Lin Feng went live across the entire Interstellar network. In a single second, concurrent viewers exceeded 10 billion. The massive data stream nearly crashed the Interstellar Net's main server. Within the virtual space, countless avatars representing major factions, corporate magnates, and nobles packed the audience stands. Lin Feng sat in a rocking chair on his farm. His relaxed figure was perfectly projected onto the auction platform. He wasted no words and waved his hand. The first lot appeared on the display stand. It was a bag of translucent grains giving off a faint rice fragrance. 1 gene of genuine ancient earth rice. Lin Feng tapped the armrest of his chair. No reserve price. Begin your bids. Silence fell over the venue for 1 second. Then bidding messages flooded the screen, scrolling far too fast to read. Li Xinghe, the first major participant, dropped a bombshell. Xinghe Group bids, a rare titanium alloy or vein located in a 3rd-tier star system. This bid set the bar at an astonishing level. Wealthy clans went all out. The Klein clan bids, 10 heavy-duty industrial mechs. The Interstellar Mining Alliance bids, 10-year mining rights to 2 resource-rich star systems. Bidding values soared. In the end, the gene of rice was won by a mysterious kingpin of the underground black market. Final bid. 3 military-grade planetary energy shield generators. Lin Feng watched the defense system upgrade notification pop up on his interface and smiled with satisfaction. These were exactly the tangible assets he wanted. Second lot. Lin Feng snapped his fingers. 10 stalks of bright green, dewy cucumbers materialized on the stand. 10 cucumbers packed together. They carry complete gene repair factors. With these words, the live stream erupted in full-blown excitement. These were life-saving items personally verified by Professor Murphy, capable of mitigating humanity's interstellar genetic flaws. At that moment, a bold red message lit up the public channel. It came from the account belonging to the head of the Lin clan. Once lofty and powerful, the old man who had cast Lin Feng aside on Earth now sounded utterly humbled. Lin Feng, we are family after all. The Lin Group will hand over 30% of its absolute controlling shares, and I will issue a full public apology across the interstellar net. I beg you to sell these 10 cucumbers to our clan. Our family's genetic defects are on the verge of catastrophic collapse. The chat fell quiet. Everyone waited for Lin Feng's response. Lin Feng looked at the account ID and let out a cold laugh. Family. He leaned forward, undisguised mockery in his tone. I hold grudges. I want nothing from the Lin clan. He opened the auction host control panel. System. Permanently expel all Lin clan-affiliated accounts from this live stream. Add them to Earth's blacklist. If any member of the Lin clan approaches Earth, engage the orbital cannons. Whoosh. The Lin clan patriarch's account vanished instantly. Viewers across the galaxy gasped. This was one of the top 10 super conglomerates of interstellar space. Yet Lin Feng had sealed its fate without hesitation. The Lin clan was finished. Without the Lin clan interfering, the bidding for the cucumbers became a head-to-head contest between the Royal Mission and Professor Murphy. Duke Austin shouted at the top of his voice. The Royal House bids. 2 decommissioned interstellar cruisers. Weapons systems fully functional. Professor Murphy's hologram jumped onto the table, his hair flying wildly. The Academy of Sciences bids. 1 complete Imperial top-tier full ecology gene incubation chamber, plus 10 tons of high-purity nutrient solution refining equipment. Don't outbid me, you old fool Austin. Neither side yielded, driving bids higher and higher. Lin Feng weighed the options. He needed cruisers, but he needed the incubation chamber even more. Enough bickering. Lin Feng knocked on the table. Split the cucumbers. 5 for the Royal House, 5 for the Academy. I will take both sets of your offerings. Austin and Murphy exchanged glances. Though neither obtained the full lot, both heaved sighs of relief. A win-win outcome. Lin Feng stood and stretched. Now for tonight's grand finale. A transparent glass jar slowly rose into view. Inside sat thick, glossy red sauce giving off a sharp, pungent spicy aroma. What is this? It looks intimidating. Could it be toxic? Doubt filled the comment section. Lin Feng offered no explanation and turned toward Anna, who was squatting nearby munching a cucumber. Come here. Taste it. Anna's eyes lit up and hurried before the camera. Lin Feng scooped a small amount of his ultra-spicy chili sauce with a spoon, spread it over a piece of grilled meat, and held it out to her. Anna chewed a couple of bites. Her face flushed bright red at once. It's spicy. So spicy. Water. She fanned herself frantically. Then something unexpected happened. The interstellar net's real-time detector blazed with brilliant golden light. Anna's already formidable strength psychic power underwent visible, tangible surges. Powerful energy ripples penetrated the virtual network, sending a shudder through every viewer watching. Readings on the detector rocketed upward. Psychic power purity increased by 10%. Silence reigned. You could hear a pin drop. Immediately afterward, high-rank warriors, legion commanders, and even long-reclusive old powerhouses went wild. An object that could directly raise high-tier psychic purity had never existed in thousands of years of interstellar history. It meant breaking power rank barriers. It meant decades of extended lifespan. The bidding panel spiraled out of control, and warning sirens blared from overburdened servers. I bid half a resource star system. I bid a fully staffed mech fleet. Amid the frenzy, an ancient black ID bearing the highest Imperial military clearance forced its way into the live stream. The moment this ID appeared, Duke Austin nearly fell out of his chair. It belonged to the old marshal who had guarded the galaxy's outer border and been gravely wounded 10 years prior. A message scrolled slowly across the screen, drowning out all other noise. A fragment of the star chart for the lost sector. Lin Feng, I offer this in trade. The old marshal's black ID remained pinned at the top of the live stream. For 10 full seconds, every message across the interstellar net froze. 10 years ago, this marshal had led the 3rd Legion against a Zerg hive at the galaxy's edge. He had sacrificed nearly half his life to secure 10 years of peace for the Empire. Since then, he had semi-retired, kept alive only by high-grade nutrient fluids in a medical sanatorium. Now, for this jar of sauce that boosted psychic purity, he offered the fabled star chart fragment of the lost sector. Lin Feng leaned back in his rocking chair and raised an eyebrow. He knew nothing of the lost sector, yet his intuition told him something offered by an Imperial marshal must be immensely valuable. Deal. Lin Feng struck the virtual gavel without the slightest hesitation. A crisp ding echoed. The auction concluded successfully. Lin Feng cut the live broadcast connection. Massive volumes of data flowed back, and the interstellar net's main server lagged for 3 full minutes, as countless users frantically refreshed the black screen. Back on Earth's farm, cool night wind blew. Anna knelt beside the tap, gulping cold water. So spicy. Way too spicy. Give me more water. Her whole face burned red, and she stuck out her tongue, gasping for air. Lin Feng walked over and handed her a cup of pre-chilled mint water. Your generation of interstellar people really cannot handle spice. Lin Feng shook his head in exasperation. Back on ancient Earth, this would count as only mildly spicy. Anna grabbed the cup and drained it in one gulp. A shiver ran through her body as she finally recovered. You trickster, Lin Feng. That is not mild spice. That is a biochemical weapon. Anna glared angrily. Yet in the next instant, she sensed the shift within her psychic power. The previously turbulent energy had turned stable, and she felt close to breaking through the strength bottleneck. She fell silent at once and squatted there quietly, absorbing the changes. Ignoring her, Lin Feng opened his system panel and tallied the night's gains. 3 military-grade planetary energy shield generators, 2 decommissioned interstellar cruisers, 1 complete full ecology gene incubation chamber, 10 tons of high-purity nutrient solution refining equipment, plus 1 star chart fragment. He had reaped enormous rewards. With these tangible assets, Earth's defenses and production capacity would jump several tiers. Even if the Imperial fleet returned, he could defeat them soundly. 2 hours later, a pitch-black, unmarked stealth shuttle slipped through the atmosphere and touched down on the wasteland outside the farm. The hatch opened. 2 military special forces soldiers in black-powered armor marched down the ramp, carrying a silver briefcase. They marched smartly up to Lin Feng and saluted crisply. Mr. Lin Feng, this is the item promised by the Marshal. We will take the chili sauce. Lin Feng handed over the jar of ultra-spicy sauce and accepted the silver briefcase. Without further words, the soldiers took the jar, turned, and boarded their shuttle. The shuttle lifted off and vanished into the night sky. Lin Feng opened the silver briefcase. A palm-sized black metal fragment lay quietly inside, its surface covered in intricate light path patterns and textures. He reached out and touched the metal fragment. A shrill alarm suddenly exploded inside his mind. Warning. Highest level hidden object detected. Object confirmed. Residual fluctuations of the seed of life tree, an ancient high-dimensional plant. Hidden quest unlocked. Seek the cradle of life. Lin Feng's hand froze. This thing was not simply a map. It was connected to the seed of an ancient plant. He stowed the metal fragment into his system backpack and stroked his chin. It seemed the interstellar era held far deeper secrets than he had imagined. Meanwhile, at the heart of the galaxy, the main, star residence of the Lin clan. Crash. A priceless limited edition optical computer was smashed to pieces. Inside the luxurious study stood the head of the Lin clan, his chest heaving violently, his face livid. A floating notification showed that the live stream channel had been permanently banned, like a giant slap across the face of the entire Lin clan. Right now, the whole galactic network was mocking them. They had missed the cucumbers that could repair genetic locks, and also missed the chili sauce that boosted mental energy purity. The Lin clan's genetic collapse crisis had reached a critical point. They had counted on pouring money to buy Lin Feng's special crops to sustain their bloodline, only to be publicly blacklisted by Lin Feng in front of billions of viewers. Clan head, the Council of Elders has assembled. A butler's cautious voice came from outside the door. 10 minutes later, in the Lin clan's underground council hall, 2 fully armed guards dragged a man inside and kicked the backs of his knees. Lin Hao cried out as he crashed heavily onto the hard marble floor. Once the incomparably favored young talent of the Lin clan, he now had disheveled hair and a face full of terror. Uncle, honored elders, give me one more chance. Lin Hao kowtowed frantically. I will capture that boy Lin Feng. Everything he owns belongs to our Lin clan. Silence. The Lin clan head slammed his palm against the table. You fool. If you had not offended him in the first place and exiled him to Earth, our clan would never be in this predicament. The other elders let out cold snorts. Cannot accomplish anything, yet ruin everything. You have brought shame upon the entire Lin clan. I moved to strip Lin Hao of his status as first, in line heir immediately. The clan head looked down at Lin Hao on the floor, without a trace of mercy. Execute my order. Lin Hao is relieved of all clan duties. All resource allocations are revoked. He is exiled to Desolate K9 Garbage Star. Without my personal order, he shall never return. Lin Hao collapsed to the ground, his mind buzzing. Exiled to Garbage Star? That was worse than death. The guards dragged him away. Back inside his half-sealed luxury apartment, Lin Hao sank onto a messy sofa, his eyes bloodshot. Hatred churned wildly inside his chest. He bit his lip until he tasted blood. This could not be the end. Lin Hao opened a hidden encrypted terminal, accessing private, fund accounts and dark net contact channels he had built up over the years. After inputting a complex string of codes, a blood-red skull icon popped up on the screen. Blood Skull Pirate Crew. This is Lin Hao. A harsh synthetic electronic voice replied from the other end. Well, if it isn't young Master Lin, what brings you to contact us rats from the shadows? Lin Hao stared fixedly at the screen. I will pay 10 million star coins plus 2 state of the art smuggling transport ships. Go to planet D001 and seize one man. I want him alive. Everything growing on his farm is yours to keep. Planet D001. The voice paused, then burst into loud laughter. That desolate, forgotten rock. Young Master Lin, you are practically handing us free wealth. Cut the chatter. Will you take the job? We'll take it. Why wouldn't we? The communication ended. Within an asteroid belt on the galaxy's fringe, aboard a massive pirate flagship, a bald one-eyed man leaned back in his command chair, stroking the scar across his jaw. Boss, Planet D001 does not even have a proper defense array. This job is easy plunder. A subordinate fawned, handing over a cup of low-grade synthetic nutrient fluid. The one-eyed man drained it in one gulp and sneered. The young master of the Lin clan is paying such a high price to retrieve one exile. There is definitely something behind this. Alert all vessels, full combat readiness. Prepare for spatial jump. Pull off this job, and the boys will have endless supplies of nutrient fluid. Engines of the huge pirate fleet roared. They tore open a spatial rift and surged toward the solar system. Several days later, on Earth's farm, a dozen round-bodied construction robots huddled in the backyard, laboring to assemble the full ecology genetic cultivation pods. Lin Feng lay in a reclining chair, holding a freshly washed tomato and taking a large bite. It was sweet, tart, and bursting with juice. Anna wore an oversized plaid shirt with her trouser legs rolled up to her knees, squatting on the field ridge pulling weeds. Her movements were smooth and practiced, nothing like the imperial princess who had never touched manual labor a month earlier. Beep, beep, beep. The communication band on Lin Feng's wrist blared a shrill high-level encrypted alert. He accepted the call, and the wrinkled face of Li Xinghe appeared on the hologram. The old man was sweating profusely, speaking at top speed. Brother Lin, run. Abandon the farm and board the shuttle. I left you at once. Lin Feng sat up and popped a cherry tomato into his mouth. Old Li, what is going on? Has the sky fallen? Worse than that. Li Xinghe slammed his fist against his desk. Deep space probes from Xinghe Group just picked up spatial jump signatures. A full-strength unregistered fleet is speeding toward the solar system. From their hull markings, it is the infamous Blood Skull Pirate Crew. They are definitely coming for your technologies and crops. Lin Feng raised an eyebrow. Pirates? Meanwhile, deep inside the Imperial Palace on the Imperial Capital Star, Duke Austin knelt before a giant holographic star chart, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. Your Majesty, the Blood Skull Pirate Crew is less than 10 minutes away from Earth. Shall we dispatch the Royal First Fleet to intercept them? Princess Anna is on that planet. Seated high upon the throne, the Emperor waved a hand, his expression calm. There is no need. But sire, Princess Anna. Anna carries the Empire's highest-grade personal protective force field. The pirates cannot harm her. The Emperor leaned back and tapped his fingers against the armrest of his throne. I wish to see what hidden cards Lin Feng can play against a pirate fleet. If he cannot defeat mere rabble, he is not worthy of the Imperial House's overtures. Duke Austin bowed his head and said no more. Back on Earth's farm, Lin Feng ended the call and set down his half-eaten tomato. Run? That was ridiculous. He had just finished installing shield emitters and particle cannons, and had been waiting for someone to test their power. These pirates had arrived even faster than food delivery. Lin Feng pulled up the farm defense system panel. A holographic projection unfolded, showing dense red dots racing toward Earth's atmosphere at terrifying speed. Lin Feng, are we about to get bombed? Anna tossed aside the weeds in her hands and hurried over, staring at the flickering radar display, her eyes lighting up. Far from being afraid, she was visibly excited, rolling up her sleeves. I am quite capable. Hide behind me, and I will keep you safe. Lin Feng grabbed the back of her collar and pulled her aside. Stay put. He retrieved a freshly baked sweet potato from the oven, juggling it because of the heat, and pressed it into Anna's arms. Eat this. Fighting ruins crop growth. Anna held the steaming tuber, breathing in its caramel-sweet aroma. Her hunger won out, and she squatted down to peel its skin. Rumble. The sky darkened. Massive shadows loomed over the farm. Dozens of enormous starships marked with blood, red skulls pierced through cloud cover and hovered overhead. Their engine exhaust burned the surrounding air. The flagship's loudspeaker activated, and a harsh full-band broadcast echoed across the valley. People below. This is one. I, captain of the Blood Skull Pirates. Lin Feng, drop all weapons and surrender with your hands on your head. Hand over all your crops and technical data within 10 minutes, or I will raise this farm to the ground. Lin Feng dug a finger in his ear. Loud voice. Annoying. He casually opened the Galactic Network livestream platform and started a planet-wide broadcast. He renamed the stream title, Immersive Experience, Daily Farm Pest Control. Only 3 seconds after going live, view count surged past 5 billion. Memories of the recent auction were still fresh, and the entire galactic network was watching Earth. Viewers flooded into the channel, and bullet screen comments filled the display. First comment. Pest control? What new trick is Boss Lin pulling? Wait, look at the background. What are those ships in the sky? Good heavens. The Blood Skull Pirates. Those are A-level galactic fugitives. Run, Boss Lin. Why are you streaming right now? Far away, at the K-9 garbage star transfer station, Lin Hao stared fixedly at the screen. His fingernails dug into his palms. Blow him up. Fire and blow him up. He screamed inwardly. Aboard the pirate flagship, 1. I scanned incoming intelligence and froze. Boss, that brat refuses to surrender. He started a planet-wide live stream. 1. I flew into a rage. Insolent fool. Does he think this is a sightseeing tour? Vanguard ship, charge main cannon to 20%. Give him a warning shot. Burn down those wheat fields. Aye, sir. A smaller Vanguard vessel rotated its gun barrel. A blinding high energy beam burst forth, hurtling toward the golden wheat fields. Viewers in the live stream gasped. Many covered their eyes. The instant the beam was about to strike the wheat ears, a low hum resonated. A pale, blue hexagonal energy matrix materialized out of thin air, like a giant inverted bowl wrapping the entire farm. The high energy beam struck the barrier, dissipated into countless sparks, and did 0 damage. For several seconds, the entire network fell silent. Then the comment section exploded. A military-grade planetary energy shield. Wasn't this paid for with the rice traded during the auction a few days ago? He already had it installed. On the flagship, 1. I shot to his feet, his eyes bulging. A military shield? How can a discarded planet have such hardware? His eyes hardened with ferocity. All ships. Charge main cannons to 100%. I refuse to believe one shield generator can withstand our combined fire. Shatter it. Dozens of starships lit up with blinding weapon glow. On the ground, Lin Feng watched the glowing gun, muzzles above, and smirked. Courtesy demands reciprocity. He raised his right hand and snapped his fingers toward the camera. System. Activate pest elimination mode. In geosynchronous orbit over Earth, 12 huge objects that had looked like ordinary asteroids split open. Camouflage shells fell away, revealing cold, massive metallic gun barrels. 12 orbital-grade particle cannons revealed themselves. Blue energy swirled within their muzzles, locking onto every pirate vessel inside the atmosphere. Alarm sirens wailed on the pirate flagship, red emergency lights flashing. Warning. High energy weapon lock detected. Warning. Energy output exceeds battleship main cannon levels. Staring at the 12 enormous high energy signatures on radar, 1. I's legs gave way, and he collapsed into his command chair. Orbital-grade particle cannons. You call this pest control? Boom. 12 thick, blue pillars of light crashed down through the atmosphere. A one-sided slaughter was about to unfold. The terrifying particle cannon blast precisely avoided the pirates' ammunition depots, slicing cleanly through power cores and weapon modules like cutting tofu. Within 3 short minutes, every engine flame aboard the arrogant Blood Skull fleet had died. All main cannon energy dissipated. Dozens of massive starships hung mid-air, smoking and crippled, reduced to scrap metal. Billions of livestream viewers were struck dumb. When the 12 orbital cannons returned to standby mode, flood-like comments poured in. Great heavens, 12 orbital cannons. He dragged fortress-level firepower down to Earth. Pest control. Boss Lin calls this pest control. Pirates. I only came to rob. Why am I fighting a full-scale military force? Lin Feng brushed dust off his hands. He opened the farm control panel and pressed a red button. Activate heavy tractor beam. Drag that largest hunk of metal down. A yellow beam shot upward from a launch tower behind the hills, locking onto the pirate flagship. Creak, deafening metal, screeching echoed. The colossal flagship was forcibly dragged downward and crashed heavily onto the open ground in front of the farm, carving a huge crater into the earth. Lin Feng picked up a hoe leaning against the wall and strolled toward the wreckage. Anna trotted after him, half-eaten sweet potato in hand, thoroughly enjoying the spectacle. The flagship's hatch was badly deformed. Two construction robots stepped forward, their mechanical arms prying the hatch violently open. Bald one. I tumbled out, covered in blood and completely disheveled. He looked up to see a hoe pressed against his throat. Following the handle upward, he met Lin Feng's faint smile. Beside Lin Feng sat the girl still gnawing her sweet potato. One Eye's mental defenses crumbled completely. He had survived countless dangers across the stars, yet nothing had prepared him for this scene. Boss. Spare my life. I surrender. I will tell you everything. One. I held up his hands, his voice trembling. Lin Feng zoomed the livestream camera to focus on One Eye's face. Speak. Who sent you? One Eye's eyes darted back and forth. He hesitated over betraying his employer, a cardinal sin among pirates. Lin Feng sighed and tossed the hoe aside. Seems we have a tough character here. He turned toward Anna. Fetch that jar of newly brewed extreme, spicy chili sauce I made yesterday. The one infused with ghost peppers. Anna's eyes lit up. She ran into the kitchen and returned carrying a dark, red glass jar. When the lid unscrewed, an acutely pungent aroma spread everywhere. Even the construction robots triggered poor air quality sensor alerts. Lin Feng picked up a long, handled spoon and scooped a full helping of sauce. Robots, hold his jaw open. The two robots stepped forward, restraining One Eye and forcing his mouth wide. Lin Feng deftly poured the spoonful of fiery sauce straight down his throat. MMPH, MMPH, MMPH. One Eye's eyes bulged. Bloodshot veins spread across his eyeballs. Blistering spice burned his mouth and esophagus, and surging mental energy fluctuations flooded his mind. One Eye broke free from the robots, rolling wildly in the mud, clutching his neck. Snot and tears streamed down his face. I'll talk. It was Lin Hao, young Master Lin Hao of the Lin clan. He screamed, terrified of receiving another spoonful. He offered 10 million star coins plus 2 smuggling warships to capture you. Dark net transfer records are stored in a hidden folder on my terminal. Password is 88s. Conclusive evidence was laid bare. The livestream chat exploded. How shameless can the Lin clan be? Hiring pirates when they cannot buy what they want. A top 10 interstellar conglomerate resorting to such criminal schemes. This violates Imperial high security law. The Lin clan must answer for this. Enraged citizens flooded every Lin Group Galactic network node. Within 10 minutes, Lin clan stock prices plummeted 40%, and corporate servers repeatedly crashed. Inside the Imperial Parliament building, the speaker reviewed flood waves of protest petitions and signed a highest-level arrest warrant without hesitation. Apprehend Lin Hao at once. Anyone obstructing this operation will face the same charges. Back at the Lin clan home, the clan had watched collapsing stock prices and endless negative reports, and spat out a mouthful of blood. Issue an official statement immediately. Lin Hao has been expelled from the clan. All his crimes are his alone, unrelated to the Lin clan. Shift all blame onto him. At the K9 garbage star transfer station, Lin Hao collapsed on the floor, his face ashen. Heavy footsteps approached outside, followed by the roar of high-energy cutting tools tearing through metal. Bang! The reinforced door crashed inward. Fully armed Imperial Galactic Police stormed in, aiming their weapons directly at Lin Hao's head. Lin Hao, you are under arrest. Lin Hao glanced at Lin Feng's smiling face on his terminal screen and closed his eyes in despair. Back on Earth's farm, Lin Feng waved toward the livestream lens. Thanks to our good friends from the Lin clan for gifting us dozens of scrap starships and thousands of free laborers. From now on, land reclamation work on the farm will be handled by the brothers of the Blood Skull Pirate crew. The stream ended amid thousands of comments reading, Boss Lin is generous. Lin Feng shut down his terminal and glanced at One Eye, who lay sprawled on the ground. Quit pretending to be dead. Get up and start working. One Eye staggered to his feet, still suffering from the chili sauce burn, his voice shaky. Boss Lin, our assignment was not only for money. Lin Feng paused and turned toward him. Oh, what other business? One Eye swallowed hard and lowered his voice. We also accepted a separate commission from a mysterious power on the dark net. They gave us coordinates to locate an ancient relic called the Cradle of Life on Earth. Rumor says it holds the truth behind the great purification that happened 100 years ago. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes. The Cradle of Life? He fingered the star map fragment inside his system backpack. It seemed this abandoned ancient Earth held far more secrets than he had imagined. Leaning back in a bamboo chair in the courtyard, Lin Feng swiped across the virtual screen. The hidden folder handed over by Juan had been fully decrypted, revealing commission records from that mysterious faction. System, cross, reference the coordinates from the star map fragment. Cross, reference complete. Coordinate match, 100%. Destination, folded space deep within the Pacific Ocean. Lin Feng stared at the flickering red dot on the screen and massaged his temples. Excavating the deep-sea ruins, coupled with the large-scale subsequent expansion of the farm, represented an astronomically huge amount of work. The two construction robots and thousands of pirates were fine for brute force labor like clearing land, but they would all drown the moment they tried diving to dig up underwater ruins. He had to recruit professional construction teams and technical specialists. Heat waves rolled across the wasteland outside the farm. One eye stood bare-chested, a black high-voltage shock collar around his neck. It was a labor reform kit Lin Feng had exchanged from the system for 100 energy points. One eye and several of his pirate underlings carried a multi-ton warship armor plate, staggering forward step by step. Hurry up. Did none of you eat anything? Anna stood atop an abandoned tractor, clutching a thick mutated cucumber vine that cracked sharply through the air as she whipped it. Miss, we truly haven't had anything to eat. One eye wailed. Quit your whining. If this stretch of ground isn't finished paving, you only get nutrient paste for lunch. Anna shouted, hands planted firmly on her hips. Lin Feng walked over and opened his StarNet livestream. Billions of viewers flooded in instantly, flooding the screen with bullet chat comments. He's live. Are we watching the execution of the blood skeleton pirates today? Hurry it up, Boss Lin. I've got my nutrient paste ready. Lin Feng pointed the camera toward himself. Execution? They're all high-quality free labor. It would be a waste to kill them. Lin Feng gestured toward the pirates laboring in the background. I'm going live today to make an official announcement. He pulled up a document and projected it onto the livestream's public display. The Earth Farm officially launches its first batch of Earth Visitors and Builders recruitment program. 100 openings available. No star coins, no resources required. We only want top-tier technical experts in architecture, mechanics, biology, and other practical fields. Applicants must pass an ancient Earth general knowledge quiz and a mental loyalty assessment. No corporate oligarchs buying their way in, no special privilege backdoor entries. Final authority for all decisions rests with me. The livestream fell dead silent for 10 full seconds before the bullet chat exploded. No payment required. Boss Lin, have you lost your mind? I've got money, let me in. What even is the ancient Earth general knowledge quiz? Who can answer questions like how many piglets a sow gives birth to in one litter? Powerful figures across every star system flew into a frenzy. Wealthy corporate magnates holding hundreds of billions in funds had planned to buy their way inside, only to discover the application system had no payment interface whatsoever. Within 10 minutes, StarNet forum trends twisted bizarrely. The #1 hot search shifted from internal strife among the Lin clan to urgent, seeking ancient Earth, so post-nursing materials. Help wanted immediately. Second place was 100 ways rice plants can die. At Star River Group headquarters on the Imperial capital Star, Li Xinghe slammed his fist down on the table while watching the live stream. Fill out an application form for me at once. His assistant broke out in a cold sweat. Chairman, the recruitment calls for practical technical specialists. You only know how to generate profits. Li Xinghe glared. Who says I have no technical skills? I'll write on the application that I bring 100 billion value logistics material depot, plus fully automated mining equipment and 200 logistics supply ships. That counts as top-tier logistics management expertise. Boss Lin is a smart man. He won't turn me down. Inside the Imperial Academy of Sciences, Professor Murphy kicked over an active gene separation experimental table. Professor, all the experimental data is destroyed, a researcher shrieked. Ignoring the chaos, Professor Murphy pulled up a direct communication link to the Imperial Emperor and sent over his electronic resignation. To hell with being chief advisor. I'm going to Earth to grow cucumbers. He rapidly filled out the application form and attached the 100,000-word paper he had stayed up all night writing. Research outlook on the subsequent enzymatic study of mutated cucumber genes. Deep within the Imperial Palace, the Emperor's face darkened as he read Lin Feng's recruitment terms. Have military intelligence sneak 50 top-level agents in. Forge their resumes to make them look like civilian mechanical engineers. 10 minutes later, the intelligence chief reported tremblingly. Your Majesty, Boss Lin's defense system is uncanny. The second we submitted resumes linked to any military background IP addresses, the system permanently blacklisted all of them. The Emperor struck the table hard. Lin Feng's power had slipped completely beyond Imperial control. 2 days later, outside Earth Farm, One Eye and his pirates had smelted warship wreckage into a broad flat metal clearing to serve as a makeshift starport. Heave-ho, put your backs into it, Anna shouted through a loudspeaker, forcing the pirates to sing an ancient Earth labor chant Lin Feng had taught her. Covered in grime, One Eye wept as he roared along. Whenever he paused, even briefly, Anna brandished a jar of jet-black devil spicy chili sauce. The recruitment list was finally released. Besides Li Xinghe and Professor Murphy, the other 98 selected candidates were all commoners from the lowest strata of interstellar society. On K9 Junkstar, Old Chen clutched an oil-stained wrench and stared fixedly at the acceptance notice on his terminal. A scrapyard mechanic, he had painstakingly reverse-engineered restoration blueprints for ancient Earth internal combustion engines by salvaging parts from garbage heaps. Several sharply dressed corporate representatives burst through his door. Old Chen, 10 million star coins plus an apartment on the Imperial Capital's Vaulted Sky District. Sell us your spot. Funds will hit your account instantly. Old Chen spun around and smashed his wrench against the lead man's nose. Get out. Eyes red, Old Chen roared toward the doorway. I've breathed radiation dust on Junkstar for 50 years. Today I finally get to set foot on a truly living world. No amount of money can buy this. Rejected nobles and remnants of the Lin clan seethed with jealousy. They secretly assembled 5 armed warships and lay in ambush at the jump point leading toward the solar system. Their plan was to seize the selected civilians and torture them into handing over their bound access terminals. But the moment the interception fleet emerged from behind an asteroid belt, 12 orbital particle cannon emplacements in Earth orbit blazed with icy blue light. No warning transmissions, no negotiations. 12 beams crossed the void, searing past the interception fleet's flagship command tower and out into deep space. Layers of the tower's armor melted instantly. The fleet commander froze in terror and immediately shut down all engines, raising the white flag of surrender. 1 day later, Li Xinghe chartered the Empire's most luxurious interstellar cruise liner. It carried Old Chen, Professor Murphy, and the other 98 successful applicants and activated its jump drive. Netizens across the galaxy watched enviously as the liner headed for the solar system. When the ship passed through the outer asteroid belt, a blue-green planet appeared beyond the huge observation windows. Everyone aboard fell silent. History textbooks described ancient Earth as a heavily irradiated dead world, a forbidden place humanity could never set foot on. Yet before their eyes stretched vast blue oceans and green continents. The cruise liner touched down smoothly on the makeshift starport built by the pirates. Before the hatch opened, everyone donned heavy survival suits and anti-radiation face masks. The ship's main AI blared a high-frequency alarm. Warning: environmental life factor concentration extremely high. Atmospheric purity, 100%. Recommendation: remove survival suits immediately to avoid obstructing beneficial substance absorption. Old Chen froze. Professor Murphy reacted first. He ripped off his anti-radiation mask and triggered the hatch release mechanism. The heavy metal ramp lowered slowly. There was no acrid synthetic oxygen stench. None of the sickly acid rain reeked common to junk stars. A soft breeze washed over them, carrying the scent of soil and blooming plants. Warm sunlight spilled unfiltered over their faces. Their spirits, worn thin and aching from interstellar radiation, relaxed completely. Old Chen's legs buckled. He was the first to step down the ramp. He dropped heavily onto the grass-covered ground. His rough hands dug deep into the soil. He lifted a handful of dark, fragrant earth and pressed it against his wrinkled cheeks. Tears streamed down his face. "We're home," Old Chen sobbed, tilting his head toward the sky and shouting. Humanity has come home. Behind him, more than 90 civilian geniuses knelt one after another, pressing their faces into the soil. Their weeping merged into one continuous sound. Leaning on his cane, Li Xinghe stood beside the ramp and held back from kneeling. Still, his withered hands shook violently. His chest rose and fell rapidly as he greedily breathed in the atmosphere rich with life factors. Professor Murphy did not even notice his glasses fall into the grass. He dropped onto his hands and knees, plucked a blade of grass, and bit into it, chewing until green juice ran down his chin. All All right, that's quite enough. A lazy voice cut through the emotional scene. Lin Feng sauntered over wearing flip-flops and shorts, munching on half a crisp cucumber. Don't get snot all over my newly laid sod. Those grass seeds cost good resources. Lin Feng bit into his cucumber and nodded toward Old Chun. Old Chun jolted in fright, wiped his face with his sleeve, and scrambled abruptly back to his feet. Lin Feng waved a hand through the air to pull up a holographic projection. A grand three-dimensional blueprint unfolded, marking zones for the central farm, residential quarters, industrial districts, and research facilities. Welcome to Earth, everyone. Lin Feng spat out the cucumber stub. One rule: whatever status you held on the StarNet, whether corporate magnate or beggar, old privileges mean nothing here. He scanned the crowd and pointed toward the blueprint's core residential zone. No star coins accepted. If you want food or lodging in the core quarters, earn contribution points. Work hard, eat well. Slack off, and you get nutrient-paced rations. Pure food supplies are distributed strictly by labor output. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Xinghe tapped rapidly on his wrist terminal. A deafening roar boomed from the sky. Everyone looked upward. 200 heavy logistics ships tore through cloud cover and hovered above the planned industrial zone. Countless supply pods slammed into the ground, kicking up thick clouds of dust. Boss Lin, Li Xinghe beamed, wrinkles spreading across his face. 100 billion value material depot plus a full set of automated mining equipment as my personal joining gift. How many contribution points would that earn me? Complete silence fell. Old Chun and the others gaped in shock. You crafty old merchant Li Xinghe, trying to outbid me. Professor Murphy fumed. He pulled 3 glowing precision instruments from his storage pouch. Boss Lin, these are top-secret dark matter gene separation devices from the Imperial Academy. I brought the blueprints too. I demand that prime plot beside the farm for my research compound. Li Xinghe struck the ground with his cane. You biologists don't need that much space. My mining machines need landing bays. Nonsense. My experimental fields cannot shrink even 1 inch. Earth's soil composition shifts daily. I need constant close-range monitoring. Lin Feng rubbed his temples and turned toward the stunned Old Chun. Old Chun, right? Your reverse-engineered internal combustion engine blueprints are impressive. Lin Feng clapped him on the shoulder. From today onward, you head the mechanical engineering department. All those high-value pieces of equipment that just dropped from orbit are yours to manage. Get your people started right away. Level out the industrial zone first. Old Chin's knees nearly buckled again. A scrapyard mechanic who had spent decades picking through trash. Now he commanded interstellar-grade equipment worth astronomical sums. Boss, Old Chin's voice trembled with excitement. You have my old life. I'll work myself to the bone. Several hundred meters away, One Eye hauled a multi-ton warship armor plate. Jealousy burned in his eyes. Why did these newcomers get official posts, while he, former leader of the Blood Skeleton Pirates, was stuck doing hard labor? He lost focus for a split second. Anna's mutated cucumber vine whipped through the air. Crack. Quit slacking. Anna planted her hands on her hips. Louder. What happened to the song I taught you? Stinging from the blow, One Eye roared in a hoarse voice. Heave-ho. Put your backs into it. We workers have strength. Half an hour later, the StarNet livestream reopened. Stream title: Earth Community, Day-to-Day Infrastructure Development. Billions of viewers flooded in. Bullet chat traffic crashed the stream for 3 full seconds. On screen, bare-chested Old Chun wielded a welding torch, taking apart a state-of-the-art interstellar mining machine. This mining rig's tracks are far too flimsy for Earth terrain. Old Chun shouted, directing other civilian mechanics. Rip the main gun base off one of the pirate warships and weld it onto the bucket. Forget aerodynamics. Add as much counterweight as you can. In under 3 hours, a wildly modified super excavator took shape. The machine rumbled toward the hills. One mighty scoop sliced off half a mountain. The facility monitoring AI blared frantic warnings. Warning: unauthorized modification. Logical conflict. Logical conflict. Smoke billowed from its hardware, and it shut down completely. Imperial elites watching the stream ground their teeth in frustration. That was Star River Group's brand new mining unit, turned into a dirt mover. I'd pay 10 billion for that old man's spot. Why does he get to enjoy Earth's sunlight while I breathe filtered oxygen on the capital world? As dusk fell, golden sunset light washed over the farm. Old Chin's mechanical crews had flattened 3 hills. He collapsed onto the grass, gasping for breath. Lin Feng pushed over a modified handcart piled high with round green orbs. Good work on the first day land reclamation. Lin Feng pulled out a machete. Staff meal. Eat your fill. Blade bit through rind with a crisp crack. Bright red juice streamed out. Rich, sweet fragrance spread everywhere. These were mutated, iced watermelons. Lin Feng had ripened rapidly using system's spirit spring water. Li Xinghe tremblingly picked up a slice and bit down. Cold, sweet juice flowed down his throat. A powerful, gentle energy surged through his body. His heart, worn out from decades of overwork, began beating strongly once more. Watching onlookers gasped. Li Xinghe's dry white hair sprouted black strands from the roots right before their eyes. Age spots faded across his skin. This cannot be. Professor Murphy still clutched his watermelon rind. He pulled out a portable scanner and aimed it at the fruit. Readings spiked wildly across the display. Life factor activity at 9,000%. This substance repairs telomere enzyme damage. Professor Murphy hungrily gnawed at the rind. A miracle. A biological miracle. With regular consumption, human natural lifespans could easily exceed 300 years. The livestream audience went wild. Rejuvenation. Li Xinghe looks 20 years younger. Boss Lin, I'll hand over my entire family fortune just for one bite of melon. Save your breath. Boss Lin won't take star coins anyway. Lin Feng glanced at his back-end message interface, which had completely locked up. He closed the live stream. Ignoring the furious corporate magnates across the stars, he gazed toward the northern edge of the farm. A vast toxic marsh stretched out, shrouded in green miasma. Old Chun. Lin Feng pointed toward the marsh. Tomorrow, take the machines over there. Drain the wetlands. I want this land prepared for ancient earth rice cultivation. Mouth full of watermelon, Old Chun slapped his chest confidently. Boss, you have my word. By noon tomorrow, not a drop of water will remain on that ground. Early next morning, mist still hung in the air. Old Chun led his mechanical team and One-Eye's pirate labor crew toward the marsh. Dozens of high-power water pumps activated simultaneously, pumping murky, silt-laden water out toward distant wastelands. Water levels dropped fast, exposing broad stretches of black muck. Suddenly, the mire's deepest layers churned violently. Boom. More than an 8-meter-long mutated swamp crocodiles covered in black bony spurs burst out of the mud. They opened foul-smelling jaws and lunged toward the frontline pirates. One-Eye shrieked and scrambled backward. Monsters! Help! Lin Feng stood on a distant earthen mound, not lifting a finger. Li Xinghe's automated armed drone fleet instantly activated defense protocols. Countless scarlet energy beams wove into a dense fire net, engulfing the crocodiles. 3 seconds. Only 3 seconds, and the ferocious-looking beasts were reduced to shredded wreckage, collapsing lifeless into the mire. Old Chin skillfully maneuvered his overbuilt excavator. Its mechanical arm grabbed a crocodile by the tail and hauled the carcass ashore. Boss, Old Chin shouted. This meat looks really solid. Can we have braised crocodile for dinner tonight? Lin Feng nodded approvingly. Keep the skins intact. Prepare everything for cooking. What had seemed a deadly threat turned into free supplies. The pirates stared on in stunned silence. The excavator advanced onward. Its huge bucket bit deep into the silt at the marsh's very bottom. Screech. The bucket suddenly struck something extremely hard, sending out blinding blue electric sparks. Old Chin's wrist-worn terminal blared a shrill high-energy alarm. Stop! Everybody stop! Old Chin roared. He jumped down from the cab and directed several workers to rush over carrying high-pressure water guns. Powerful jets of water washed away the thick black silt, gradually revealing what lay beneath. It was a giant metal plate more than 10 meters in diameter, of an indeterminate material that was neither metal nor stone, its surface entirely free of rust. Dense, strange symbols were carved all over the plate. They resembled neither ancient Earth writing nor any known language of interstellar civilizations. The moment the metal plate was fully exposed to the air, deep in Lin Feng's mind, the long-dormant fragment of the star map suddenly trembled with unprecedented violence. The alarm on Old Chin's wrist terminal kept wailing, its piercing high-pitched tone stabbing at everyone's eardrums. The huge 10-meter, wide metal plate lay quietly buried in the black muck, the odd symbols across its surface flickering with faint blue light at a strange rhythm. Don't anyone move. Lin Feng snapped. The star map fragment inside his head resonated with an indescribable mental echo, throbbing so hard his temples pounded. Before Lin Feng could figure out the source of this resonance, a gaunt figure darted out from the back of the crowd. Professor Murphy, his hair sticking out in wild tufts, charged toward the pit clutching a palm-sized energy detector covered in intricate circuitry, his eyes blazing. A miracle. This is a creation surpassing all known civilizations. Murphy shouted at the top of his lungs. The instant he stepped within 3 meters of the metal plate, the detector's screen dissolved into garbled code. Bang! Thick black smoke billowed as the detector blew apart. Murphy did not even bother wiping soot off his face. Scrambling through the silt, he leaned forward, about to press his face right against the metal plate. Quick! Deploy a sterile capsule immediately. I want a top-tier laboratory built right here. No one in the Imperial Academy has ever seen symbols like these. Decipher even one, and those stuffy old scholars will have to bow to me. Lin Feng strode across the muck, grabbed Murphy by the back of his collar, lifted the old man off the ground with one hand, and tossed him accurately toward Old Chun. Catch this madman. Don't let him touch that thing. Old Chun scrambled to catch Murphy, and the two tumbled onto the ground in a heap. Lin Feng stood before the metal plate and stretched out his right hand, fingertips brushing its strange non-metallic, non-stony surface. Beep! A shrill warning blared inside his mind, making his ears ring. His system panel popped open automatically, its usual pale, blue interface flooded with bright scarlet warnings. High-dimensional information fragment detected. Warning! Warning! Attempting to parse this information carries a high risk of drawing observation from unknown high-dimensional entities. Host, terminate contact immediately. Sever all energy connections. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He pulled his hand away at once and stuffed it into the pocket of his shorts. High-dimensional observation? Thoughts raced through Lin Feng's mind. The system had unlocked the Cradle of Life, quest, and won. I had spoken of rumors surrounding it before. Now this extreme high-dimensional warning had appeared. Earth hid secrets he knew nothing about. Without absolute power to defend himself, he could not afford to meddle with such a dangerous artifact. Lin Feng turned and faced the onlookers, his expression hard. Old Chun, get everyone to pull back, Lin Feng said flatly. This chunk of strange material emits intense high-frequency radiation that can trigger irreversible genetic breakdown. Anyone who wants to risk terrible bodily mutation is welcome to stay. His words sent a shockwave through the crowd. Old Chun flinched all over, hoisted the still, struggling Murphy onto his shoulder, and sprinted toward a dirt mound 100 meters away. I and the pirate laborers ran for their lives, desperate to put distance between themselves and the pit, not daring to stop even when their shoes slipped off their feet. Standing on the distant mound, Li Xinghe leaned on his cane and stared intently at Lin Feng. A seasoned tycoon who had navigated interstellar commerce for 100 years, he understood perfectly well what that artifact, powerful enough to fry a detector, represented. It was a treasure valuable enough to ignite interstellar wars. Still, Li Xinghe asked not a single question. Instead, he ordered his bodyguards, go help Old Chun hold Professor Murphy back. Keep him from causing trouble for Boss Lin. A wise man knew when to hold his tongue. Once he confirmed everyone was safely distant, Lin Feng focused his mind. The system's advanced storage space activated, and a silent massive gravitational field enveloped the giant 10-meter metal plate. In less than a second, the plate vanished without a trace. Only a vast, deep mire remained, silt gurgling inward as it collapsed. Lin Feng strolled back up the mound and pointed at the empty pit. All right, I've neutralized the radiation source using special means. He waved Old Chun over. Get your machines in here to fill and level this ground. Tomorrow at 8 sharp, we transplant rice seedlings. If we miss the planting window, you'll all be living on nutrient paste. Old Chun stared blankly from the pit to Lin Feng, his mind struggling to process what he had just witnessed. One moment, they were in a sci-fi horror scene of genetic melting danger, and the next they were straight into an agricultural broadcast about rice planting. What are you staring at? Get to work. Lin Feng gave Old Chun a light kick. Right away. Old Chun scrambled toward his heavy-duty excavator and yelled. Mechanical team, move out. By evening, a huge bonfire blazed in the farm's central square. Old Chun and several civilian mechanics had thoroughly cleaned the spare bucket from the excavator using high-pressure water guns and hung it over the fire to serve as a giant cooking pot. Dozens of mutated swamp crocodiles had been skinned, gutted, and chopped into chunks the size of basketballs. They simmered inside the bucket pot. Though the crocodile meat looked dense, a pungent earthy odor drifted up with the steam, making many people wrinkle their noses. Lin Feng pushed a small cart over, carrying a brown paper package. Inside were mutated star anise, cinnamon bark, and bay leaves steeped in system, provided spirit spring water, specially blended for this stew. Lin Feng tore open the paper bag and dumped all the spices into the boiling pot. Powerful, rich fragrance exploded across the square. The deep, savory aroma of meat mixed with warm spices completely drowned out the swampy stench of the crocodile flesh. As steam roiled upward, the meat turned an appetizing reddish, brown, glistening oil shimmering across the surface of the broth. The square fell dead silent, broken only by the sound of dozens of people swallowing hard. Anna sat beside Lin Feng, eyes glued to the cooking pot. Her silver fork had stabbed several holes straight through the wooden table beneath her hands. In a corner, I squatted with dozens of pirate laborers. Each clutched a tube of dull, low-grade nutrient paste. Compared with the mouth-watering aroma wafting through the air, their rations now smelled worse than sewage. "Boss, I want some meat," one pirate mumbled, saliva dripping down his chin as he stared toward the center of the square. "Dream on. We're prisoners. Be grateful we even get nutrient paste." I swallowed hard and forced himself to look away. Lin Feng carried a large stainless steel basin over, piled high with crocodile tailbones stripped of large cuts of meat, still coated in plenty of tender connective tissue. Clang. He set the basin down heavily in front of one. "Scrap leftovers. Divide them among your men." Lin Feng looked down at the pirates. "Work hard and obey orders here, and you'll always get bones to gnaw. But if you hatch any more schemes, you'll end up in the cooking pot next time." I froze for a moment, his eyes growing moist. As former captain of the Bloodskull Pirates, he had looted across star systems and tasted the finest nutrient paste the galaxy had to offer. Yet staring at the basin of bones right now, he felt an urge to bow before Lin Feng. "Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss." "Men, dig in." I grabbed a bone and bit down, sucking in sharp breaths from the scalding heat, yet refusing to let go. Back in the square, the feast officially began. Li Xinghe and Professor Murphy, valued contacts and technical personnel respectively, each received a large bowl of the finest braised meat. Trembling, Li Xinghe picked up a piece with his chopsticks and took a bite. The skin was soft and in-mouth. The lean meat soaked up rich broth, releasing juicy flavor with every chew. Before he could swallow, a powerful yet gentle vital energy force erupted inside his stomach, flowing through every vessel and limb. Li Xinghe's eyes flew wide open. He heard faint cracking sounds as his bones adjusted, and his previously hunched back straightened noticeably. A loud clatter cut through the night. Murphy's bowl slipped from his hands and crashed onto the ground. He had swallowed meat and broth together, and something inside him had shifted. He stared blankly straight ahead. "Professor? Are you all right? Was the meat too hot?" Old Chun hurried over, alarmed. Murphy shoved him away, pulled a portable mental power detector from his coat, and clamped it onto his head. Numbers on the screen rocketed upward. C. Rank B. Rank B+. Murphy trembled all over. Tears streamed down his face, and he dropped to his knees. "It expanded. My mental power C has expanded," he screamed hoarsely. The Empire poured trillions of star credits and deployed its best scientists for centuries trying to crack the problem of raising mental power after birth, and a pot of stewed meat solved it. The whole square fell utterly quiet. Seconds later, chaos erupted. The crowd looked at Lin Feng no longer merely with awe, but with near religious fanaticism. In interstellar society, mental power rank determined social standing and potential. Mental power was understood to be fixed at birth, impossible to improve afterward. Now Lin Feng's random crocodile stew had shattered that universal law. Old Chen's face burned with excitement. He ripped off his vest, revealing an oil-stained chest. "Boss, my life is yours. Tomorrow I'll operate 3 excavators at once. If I don't turn every inch of this soil over, you can use my head as a chamber pot." Lin Feng rubbed his ears, ringing from all the shouting. He sat off to one side with his own bowl and ate unhurriedly, ignoring the crowd's wild outbursts. Hovering diagonally above the bonfire, a palm-sized live stream drone kept its lens locked on the kneeling Murphy. The glaring B+ reading on the mental power detector streamed across quantum comm links, visible to billions of viewers across the stars. Bullet comment feeds for the live stream froze solid. The next instant, viewer traffic flooded the servers like a breaking dam. "Warning. Traffic overload. Main node response timeout." The screen went black. The official Imperial Interstellar Live stream platform, built to handle 800 billion concurrent viewers, had crashed completely. 3 seconds later, emergency backup circuits kicked in and the feed returned. Virtual gift effects flooded the screen, partially obscuring Lin Feng as he gnawed on his meat. "I'll pay 50 million star credits for a sip of that broth. Transfer right now." 50 million is nothing. I'm CEO of the Heavenly King Galaxy mining conglomerate. 100 million star credits for just 1 spoonful of that crocodile soup. "Boss, open farm recruitment. I don't need pay. I'll bring my own mech to work your fields. Just feed me. Even the leftover bones from the pirates will do." Tycoons and noble families across the galaxy watched in wild desperation. Improving mental power after birth meant piloting higher-grade mechs, surviving more intensive genetic modification procedures, and even extended lifespans. Lin Feng did not glance at his terminal at all. He tossed a thoroughly gnawed bone into an alloy basin and wiped grease from his hands with a towel around his neck. All that noise, ruining my digestion. Dawn broke early the next morning. Mechanical roars echoed across the open ground west of the farm. Old Chen sported heavy dark circles under his eyes, yet brimmed with energy as he stood on a mound waving a wrench. Where toxic swamp muck had lain the day before, neat, orderly rice paddy ridges stretched out, filled with rich black topsoil. Parked beside the ridges was a monstrous contraption welded together from an excavator chassis, small cargo, ship thrusters, and over a dozen steel mechanical arms. "Boss, take a look." Old Chun patted the machine, eager for praise. "Me and the boys stayed up all night building this fully automated multi-thread rice transplanter. It can plant 50 mu of rice per hour. We won't miss your 8 o'clock planting deadline." Lin Feng kicked the track tread and listened to the solid clank of internal metal parts, then gave a genuine thumbs up. "You had to feed your workers well to get good work out of them. Last night's stew had definitely paid dividends. Good job." He turned toward two groups already lined neatly in the central square. On the left stood Old Chin's civilian mechanics and construction workers, all cheerful. On the right, I led dozens of blood skull pirates. They hunched their shoulders, yet burned with eager motivation. Today we split into two teams. Lin Feng gestured toward the newly leveled rice paddies, then toward the overgrown hillside wasteland in the distance. "Old Chun, take your crew to transplant rice seedlings. By sunset, I want these paddies fully planted with green shoots." I jolted at his name, stepped sharply forward, and held himself ramrod straight. "Here, boss, give the order. Take your men to open up the hillside wasteland. Clear away all mutated brush and rocks. Prepare 200 mu of arable ground. We'll plant wheat there in a few days." Lin Feng looked over the pirates. "We need more than rice to feed this farm. We'll grow grain for noodles too. Open wasteland. Plant wheat." I's eyes lit up. He spun and roared at his men. "You all heard the boss. Anyone slacking off today gets no bones tonight." These former cold-blooded interstellar raiders let out wolf-like cheers. Half an hour later, thunderous explosions boomed from the hillside. Lin Feng stood on a hillside teacup in hand, staring out in speechless disbelief. To speed up progress, I's men had ripped two low-power ship-mounted energy cannons off their parked pirate frigate. Shirtless pirates hauled the hundreds-kilogram cannon barrels onto their shoulders and fired blasts at the thick brush wasteland. Dirt and rock flew over 100 meters into the air, leaving deep, soft furrows behind each shot. Other pirates rushed in behind them with shovels and hoes, frantically leveling soil and picking out stones, shouting insults at one another as they raced to claim work sections. "Fill every crater. Wasting an inch of the boss's good soil, and I'll bury you in it as fertilizer." I marched about brandishing a high-frequency machete, harsher than any overseer. Lin Feng shook his head. So this was the potential of interstellar pirates. Promised them a decent meal, and they would tear starship cannons apart to use as plows. While everyone labored out in the fields, Lin Feng slipped alone to the farm's central water tower. His system interface glowed in his mind. A drop of pure turquoise liquid brimming with vital energy condensed from virtual space and dripped into the main irrigation pipe. Diluted 10,000-fold spirit, spring water flowed through underground micro-ducts, seeping silently into every newly reclaimed plot of earth. Earth's already uniquely fertile soil, catalyzed by the spirit, spring water, pushed plant growth far beyond normal biological limits. Several weeks passed. The 200 mu hillside wasteland had turned golden. Mutated wheat stalks stood heavy with plump grains, full ears bending the stalks low. Golden waves rolled across the fields in the afternoon breeze. At noon sharp, Lin Feng opened a galaxy-wide live broadcast. No people filled the frame. The low, flying drone simply panned across the endless golden wheat expanse, broadcasting the sight to every corner of the stars. Billions of interstellar citizens sipping nutrient paste watched in stunned silence. All crops they knew grew inside sealed sterile laboratories, hooked to nutrient tubes and monitoring electrodes, pale laboratory-grown things. Vast open fields of waving golden grain only existed in tattered, old document illustrations. Not a single bullet comment appeared in the live stream chat. Everyone held their breath, afraid that tapping virtual keyboards would shatter the magnificent scene. Harvest begins. Lin Feng's lazy voice echoed across the feed. Old Chun drove the heavily modified super harvester straight into the wheat field. Its rotating steel front reel sliced through stalk after stalk, and golden waves fell in neat swathes. Right behind the machine, I and his pirates bent low in the fields. They carried special woven sacks and carefully collected every stray ear of wheat fallen in the mud. Harvested wheat piled on the farm's paved central square like a golden mountain. Lin Feng stood before a 2-meter-tall granite millstone. No ox pulled it. Instead, a gravity engine salvaged from a small shuttle connected to its drive shaft. Rumble. The engine roared, and the heavy upper millstone spun at high speed. Lin Feng shoveled golden wheat grains into the mill's feed hole. Beneath the rumbling grind, fine snow, white flour poured out along the stone trough into large wooden tubs. A rich, earthy fragrance carrying sunlight and wheat drifted out on the breeze. Beneath a custom sunshade, Anna clutched her dress, swallowing repeatedly. Her royal family recorded eating disorder could not stand against this simple, primal carbohydrate aroma. She had grown accustomed to Earth-style food, constantly looking forward to the warm meals from Lin Feng's kitchen. Viewers across the galaxy watched hungrily through the live stream. Lin Feng washed his hands and scooped out more than 10 gin of flour into a basin, adding water. I had found 2 large mutated bird eggs while clearing wasteland. Instead of hiding them, he had turned them in. Lin Feng cracked the eggs into the flour and sank both hands into the pile of powder to knead. Today he would make hand-pulled noodles. He would show these interstellar folk a craft perfected by ancient Earth ancestors over thousands of years. Powder clumped and pressed between his palms, soon forming a large, smooth, elastic lump of dough. Lin Feng gripped both ends of the dough, pulled outward, flicked his wrists to swing the stretching strands through the air, folded, gripped tight, and pulled once more. Snap! Thick strands of noodles slammed hard against the log-wood workbench, producing a crisp, heavy thud. Pull, fold, slam, dust with coarse dry flour. Lin Feng's movements flowed smoothly, growing faster and faster. Li Xinghe pushed himself up from his chair with his walking stick. This was the noodle-making technique he'd seen on the livestream that day, and at last he would get to taste the finished dish. Professor Murphy was so absorbed that his glasses slid down the bridge of his nose unnoticed. He leaned so far forward, he was nearly pressed against the workbench. The livestream audience went wild. What kind of micro-matter reshaping craft is this? How did that pile of white powder turn into strands? Look at the certification just posted by the chief researcher of the Academy of Physical Sciences. He says Lin's stretching and folding technique follows sub-millimeter, scale 3, dimensional spatial, folding principles. Nonsense. That's polymer material restructuring. There must be some kind of biomagnetic field generator in Lin Feng's palms. Lin Feng's eyes twitched. Spatial folding? Biomagnetic fields? These poor folks could not even afford a bowl of beef noodles, yet their imaginations stretched wider than black holes. Beside him, rich broth had been simmering in the big iron pot for 3 hours. Since genuine earth yellow cattle were unavailable, Lin Feng had purchased a large block of composite high-energy beef from the system shop, its fibrous texture perfectly mimicking real meat. He added generous handfuls of mutated star, anise and cinnamon and let everything boil fiercely. The soup base glowed deep red, capped with a thick layer of beef tallow. Its aroma drifted for 2 li in every direction. Lin Feng flicked the freshly pulled silver thread noodles into the roaring boiling water cauldron. He gently loosened them with long bamboo chopsticks. In barely more than 10 seconds, all the noodles floated to the surface, translucent and gleaming. Fish out the noodles, rinse in cold water, shake dry, and place them into a wooden bowl larger than a human face. Then pour over a ladle, full of scalding, spicy braised beef broth. Several large square chunks of tender, marinated beef with connective tissue were laid across the top. Finally, he grabbed handfuls of fresh green onions snipped straight from the fields and scattered them liberally over the noodles. Hissa! Steam billowed upward. Wheat fragrance, meat aroma, and spice scents merged, assaulting every person's nostrils on sight. Eat, Lin Feng said, setting the first bowl before Anna. The Imperial Emperor's most precious daughter did not even bother reaching for her sterling silver spoon. She snatched up a pair of long chopsticks and stuffed a huge mouthful of noodles into her mouth without the slightest trace of elegance. Springy, smooth noodles bounced inside her mouth, rich broth oozing forth with every chew. Anna closed her eyes. Her cheeks flushed bright red, and 2 large tears rolled unbidden down her face. So good, munch munch munch. This was what it meant to truly live. Not sustaining basic bodily functions with cold synthetic nutrient pastes, but this deep satisfaction that spread from one's tongue all the way down to one's guts, stirring one's very soul. On the adjacent workbench, a half-inch broken noodle segment left behind from the straining lay atop the cutting board. Professor Murphy's eyes blazed bloodshot. He pounced forward like a starved hound, pinched up the cold noodle fragment, and popped it straight into his mouth. After a couple of chews, he whipped out the high-precision cellular activity scanner hanging from his lab coat collar and aimed it frantically at his own stomach. Green trace lines on the display surged at rates defying all known physiological norms. Great heavens, good heavens. Murphy shoved Li Xinghe out of his way and strode straight up to the livestream camera. His face twitched violently from overwhelming excitement. Listen, everyone. This is no ordinary food. He roared toward the stars beyond. The highly active dietary fiber contained within natural wheat husks and endosperm can repair gastric, mucosal atrophy caused by long-term consumption of synthetic nutrient pastes within 3 minutes of entering the digestive tract. It reawakens degenerated digestive glands. This is strategic material, the ultimate remedy freeing humanity from inherited gastrointestinal defects. The Imperial Academy academicians on-site testimony detonated like an anti-matter bomb across the stellar web. Livestream tip, counter numbers devolved into garbled code. The Military Logistics Department bids 100 billion star coins for exclusive rights to the first wheat harvest. House of Augustus Imperial Household placing an order. Mr. Lin, give us an account number. We will buy 100 gene of wheat flour. Name your price. Golden, verified bullet. Screen comments from military branches and top-tier noble houses flooded the entire screen. Lin Feng stepped squarely before the camera. 100 billion? Name my own price. Lin Feng smiled and waved his hand calmly. This batch of flour is not for sale. Billions of viewers across the galaxy collectively held their breath. Let's have a lottery instead, since we're all in high spirits today. Lin Feng tapped his terminal console and released a lottery link. Anyone who has followed this live stream for more than 7 days can enter. 100 prizes total, each 1 gene of premium refined wheat flour, shipped via interstellar SF cold chain delivery. Also, an official announcement for the entire galaxy. Lin Feng stuffed both hands into the pockets of his big shorts and gazed through the camera toward the vast starry expanse. As of today, Earth Agricultural Group is officially founded. Business, interested parties, line up and come with genuine offers. Anyone planning underhanded tricks, before you set course for Earth, better make sure you have more than one life to throw away. The moment Lin Feng published the lottery link, participant counts on the control panel blurred into streaking ghost digits. 100 million, 200 million, 500 million, 10 billion. Massive instantaneous data inflow stalled the stellar web's core processing centers for a full minute. Bullet. Screen comments filled the screen with endless exclamation marks and prayers. Text unreadable. Please let me win. I'll trade my boss's 10-year bachelorhood for 1 gene of flour. Notice me, Mr. Lin. I'm one of your earliest long-term followers. Stay out of my way. I suffer late-stage gastric, mucosal atrophy. This flour could save my life. Several officially verified accounts also spammed frantically. Governor's Office of the First Star Sector begging for a lottery win. All researchers of the Royal Academy Biological Research Institute praying online. Staring at the fluctuating figures on his terminal, Li Xinghe swallowed hard. Brother Lin, this flour's appeal is terrifying. I just spotted accounts belonging to numerous high-ranking nobles scrambling for spots. Lin Feng waved dismissively. Nobles or common folk, all of them are just here hoping for a handout. Lotteries depend purely on luck. Let fate decide. Anna held her large wooden bowl, cheeks stuffed full of noodles, and mumbled in agreement. Right? Nobody gets special treatment. The countdown hit the final 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8. As every spectator held their breath staring at the screen, a sharp tearing sound shattered the plaza's festive mood. The stable floating high-definition holographic screen twisted into chaotic static snow. Public stellar web channel signals had been brutally overridden and forcibly severed. What's wrong? Did the stellar web crash? Li Xinghe tapped rapidly at his terminal, yet every command he sent failed completely. Nearby, Professor Murphy stared at encrypted code scrolling rapidly along the screen edge. His face drained of color. He nearly dropped his cellular activity scanner. That's military-grade quantum forced penetration technology. The old man whirled toward Lin Feng. Ordinary nobles or conglomerates cannot access signal sources of this caliber. Whoever this is wields immense power, likely holding core imperial network authority. As his words faded, the distorted hologram reassembled itself. A holographic projection of a middle-aged man in a tailored business suit materialized at its center. He sported immaculately combed slick back hair, held his chin slightly aloft, and looked down haughtily at the farm's assembled crowd. His gaze swept over mountains of golden wheat, undisguised greed and contempt in his eyes. Ignoring the furious protests pouring in from billions of livestream viewers, he spoke in a casual tone. "I am Victor, envoy of Stellar Life Group." The instant those words appeared, bullet screen commentary protesting the outage froze for 5 full seconds. Then discussion exploded far more fiercely than it had during the lottery. Stellar Life Group? Why have they set their sights on Earth? We're finished. They control 90% of the galaxy's nutrient paste market. Even the imperial royal household adjusts procurement orders according to their whims. I knew those bloodsuckers would come. Mr. Lin's natural foods strike at the foundation of their profits. They're here to wreck everything. Everyone screenshot and record streams. Stellar Group acts ruthlessly. Earth Farm is in grave danger. Victor paid no mind to online chatter from ordinary citizens. He surveyed the wheat fields as though appraising merchandise, then fixed his gaze on Linfeng. Linfeng, our group takes interest in these retro-style plants you've cultivated. He raised one finger. 100 billion star coins for full exclusive patent ownership of every crop grown on Earth. Before Linfeng could reply, Victor laid out additional terms. You must also hand over your soil, improvement formulas, and all machinery blueprints, and accept full group administration of Earth. Naturally, you will be well compensated. Victor adjusted his tie, his tone reeking of condescending charity. You will receive the title of Chief Cultivation Officer. Going forward, you will tend crops exclusively for high-ranking elites within our group headquarters' sterile experimental chambers. This is an honor countless people would beg for, enough to wipe away the stain of your exile status. Hearing these utterly unreasonable exploitative terms, Old Chin clenched his chopsticks so tightly his knuckles whitened. Absolute nonsense. Why hand over food the boss has worked so hard to grow to those bloodsuckers? Dozens of burly men from the one-eyed pirate gang flushed with rage, their knuckles cracking as they balled fists. I drew his energy rifle from his back and aimed it straight at the hovering hologram. Boss, give the word, and we'll capture this man right now. Faced with Stellar Group's overwhelming pressure, Li Xinghe restrained one eye. Don't act rashly. This is Stellar Life Group. They supply logistics for galactic fleets. Crushing you would be as trivial as crushing ants. Li Xinghe lowered his voice. Heavy tension hung thick in the air. Against Victor's aggressive demands, Linfeng barely lifted an eyelid. He slowly picked up the large wooden bowl resting on the workbench, picked up his long chopsticks, and stirred the noodles inside. Rich reddish, broth clung to springy noodles, steam curling upward. Linfeng lifted a huge chopstick, full of noodles, and ate openly before billions of galactic viewers. The loud slurp echoed sharply across the silent plaza. He chewed the tender beef with connective tissue, wearing an expression of obvious enjoyment, smacking his lips. Perfect timing. The beef tendon is cooked nice and soft, Linfeng remarked casually to himself. Victor's composure crumbled as Linfeng completely ignored him. His features darkened. Linfeng, I am speaking to you. Can you not understand human speech? Victor raised his voice, undisguised menace creeping into his tone. I warn you, do not reject a gracious offer only to suffer harsh consequences. Without Stellar Group's approval, not a single grain of wheat from Earth will ever reach galactic markets. Do you truly believe livestream tips can stand against an entire conglomerate? I possess 100 ways to starve you out on this desolate planet. Linfeng swallowed his beef, then drank down every last drop of remaining broth from the bowl. He grabbed a towel draped around his neck and casually wiped his mouth. Only then did he lift his eyes toward the holographic projection overhead. 100 billion? Plus free labor for your organization. Linfeng scratched at his ear. Your group's scheming can be heard all the way out here on Earth. Victor snorted coldly. This is your only chance. Sign this agreement, and you keep your life. Linfeng extended one finger toward his system control panel. Victor watched the motion, his features twisting into a smug sneer. He assumed the former disgraced clan heir had finally accepted reality and intended to bow to corporate power. At last you see reason. Contract code has transmitted to your terminal. Sign it, and fleets will depart immediately to take over. Victor never finished his sentence. Lin Feng tapped twice rapidly on the control panel. A crisp electronic alert blared from the plaza loudspeakers. Ding. Interstellar scam sales communication intercepted and IP address blocked. Victor's haughty sneer remained frozen on his face. The next instant, his entire holographic projection dissolved into garish patch, work color mosaics. A soft pop sounded. The mighty Stellar Life Group envoy vanished completely, not even afforded a final parting remark. Following 3 full seconds of stunned silence, livestream bullet, screen comments exploded exponentially. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What on earth did Mr. Lin just do? He blocked the Stellar Group envoy like a nuisance scam call. He's insane. That's Stellar Life Group. That move is unbelievably hardcore. That system alert is priceless. Interstellar scam sales communication, ha ha ha. Stellar Group has lost face across the whole galaxy. Billions of galactic viewers were stunned by Lin Feng's blunt, straightforward countermeasure. Treating a monopolistic corporate giant like a nuisance telemarketer was unprecedented in galactic history. Lin Feng shrugged toward the camera and spoke with open disdain. Sales pitches these days have really sunk low. 100 billion to buy ownership over everything I've built? That's an insult. I settled on Earth to farm precisely so I would never bow to others. Those fools want me to go work as their hired hand instead. Have their brains been rotted by nutrient paste? He tapped the workbench to draw everyone's attention back. All right, everyone. Ignore the scammer. Let's resume our lottery. It got cut off, so we restart. He tapped his terminal once more, and the interrupted lottery countdown resumed. 10, 9, 8. Scene shift. Countless light. Years away, high inside Stellar Life Group's headquarters tower. The space was lavishly decorated. Walls were inlaid with rare ores collected from star systems across the galaxy. Panoramic floor to ceiling windows overlooked the glittering metropolis of the galactic capital. Communication forcefully severed. Victor seethed with rage. He snatched an expensive crystal goblet from his desk and smashed it hard against the polished floor. Shards sprayed everywhere. Insolence. A worthless exile dares hang up on my transmission. Victor trembled all over. Wherever he traveled as Stellar Group's envoy, planetary governors treated him with utmost deference. Today he had been publicly dismissed as a scammer for billions to witness. He spun toward shadows deep within the office. Executive Sir, Lin Feng is impossibly insolent. I request immediate deployment of corporate private fleets to obliterate Earth. Seize all plant and soil samples by force. From the shadows, a broad executive chair slowly rotated around. Carl Reynolds sat in the chair, his eyes cold and menacing as he watched playback footage of Lin Feng eating noodles and casually blocking the transmission. Carl Reynolds twirled a solid gold coin between his fingers and let out a cold laugh. Deploy fleets? Do you wish to turn our galactic web humiliation into something far worse? Imperial military and academy elders are watching Earth closely. Sending warships now would hand them perfect justification for open conflict. Victor bowed his head, not daring to object. Does a mere exile think he can overturn everything holed up on a desolate world? Carl Reynolds slammed his coin hard onto the desktop, producing a sharp crack. His long fingers flew across desktop controls as he input top priority commands, issuing killing blow orders. Notify the Interstellar Navigation Authority and every black market logistics guild. Effective immediately, impose full-scale airspace blockade around Earth. No transport ships, no shuttles whatsoever are permitted to approach Earth. Carl Reynolds' voice echoed through the vast office, dripping with unmasked malice. Cut off all interstellar shipping routes. Let us see how long he can hold out. The lottery had just concluded. Cheering from Anna echoed across the farm plaza. Li Xinghe's wrist-worn personal terminal blared shrill highest, level red alerts in rapid succession. Li Xinghe glanced down at his screen, and his expression darkened instantly. Holographic screens floating overhead forcibly switched displays. A joint official notice from the Interstellar Navigation Authority and Black Market Logistics Guild hung prominently in view. Bright red characters filled the entire display. Effective immediately, Earth airspace designated S, level restricted zone. All galactic logistics connections to Earth severed. Livestream viewers spotted the anomaly as well. On galactic shopping, platform and logistics, system interfaces, Earth appeared grayed out and unavailable as a destination. Bullet, screen sentiment shifted completely. Joy from the lottery evaporated entirely. Stellar Group struck. They intend to trap Mr. Lin on Earth with no way out. It's over. Without shipping, how will we receive the flower we want? This is the price for crossing a monopolistic giant. They leave zero room for survival. Old Chun trembled with fury. He slammed his wooden bowl hard against the table, spilling broth across the surface. Boss, not even an interstellar fly can fly in or out now. Prize, winners will never receive their flower shipments, and all our future plans grind to a halt. Old Chun paced anxiously in circles. Dozens of men of the one-eyed pirate gang stood in unison, drawing energy rifles from their belts with roars. I strode forward to Lin Feng, pounding his chest, veins bulging on his neck. Boss, we can take our modified warships and run black market smuggling runs. We will risk our lives rather than endure this humiliation. Li Xinghe shook his head bitterly, placing a hand on One Eye's shoulder and pulling him back. It is useless. Even black market guilds have yielded to stellar group pressure. If your ramshackle ships lift off, interstellar patrol forces will destroy them with indiscriminate fire before jump engines even finish preheating. They will become cosmic debris. Somber moods settled over the plaza. Anna set down her bowl and looked at Lin Feng with deep concern. What if I ask my father for help? Lin Feng shook his head. He spat out beef fragments, picked up a toothpick unhurriedly, and cleaned his teeth at leisure. Why rush? Lin Feng flicked the toothpick into a waste bin, brushed dust off his hands, and chuckled. Block logistics? Fine by me. I always thought ordinary courier vessels traveled too slowly. Anyway, they are not worthy of my upcoming new product lines. Anna stared in confusion. Billions of online viewers sent question mark spams across the screen. Ignoring the flood of distraught comments, Lin Feng walked toward a special experimental field at the rear of the farm, trailed by floating camera drones. Thick, transparent energy shielding sealed off this plot. Through the barrier, ominous dark red glows could be glimpsed inside. Lin Feng entered commands on his control panel and pressed the unlock key. Hiss, the shielding retracted. A pungent, biting scent washed outward. Anna and nearby pirate crew members caught the full brunt of it. They burst into tears instantly, sneezing violently over a dozen times, stumbling backward. Cough, cough. Boss, what kind of biochemical weapon is this? One Eye's eyes streamed with tears and mucus from the spice, and he stumbled backward frantically. Beside him, Professor Murphy had been fretting over the logistics blockade. Suddenly, the cellular activity scanner in his hands let out a shrill alarm. Readings on the screen rocketed all the way to maximum capacity. A wisp of black smoke seeped from gaps in the casing as the device emitted grinding, overloading noises. Good heavens, this can't be. The biological energy activity inside this plant exceeds the crystal core of an A-class mutated star beast. How is this cultivated? The old man ignored the stinging spice and lunged toward the field, fixated on the clusters of bright red fruit. He reached out to touch them without hesitation. Lin Feng slapped his hand away. Don't touch it. This thing has an extreme heat level. Skin contact alone can leave you with severe burns. Lin Feng pulled on thick, chemical-resistant gloves and carefully plucked a fingernail-sized fruit, holding it up to the camera. Everyone watched closely. Earth's second-generation functional crop, blaze pepper. This isn't just for cooking. It can bring quite a few unexpected benefits to your bodies. The live stream chat was flooded with confusion. What surprise could this little red fruit bring? Can it break Star Consortium's blockade? Has Boss Lin lost his mind? Expecting to turn the tide with a condiment. Lin Feng did not rush to explain. He stared at the pepper in his palm, lacking the courage to taste it himself. He scrolled through the stream's donation ranking and requested a live connection with one of his loyal fans, retired Interstellar Federation combatant, Taylor, the Berserker. The holographic screen split open, revealing a burly, haggard man covered in scar tissue. Taylor had suffered severe mental core injuries while fending off alien beasts years ago. His power had faded drastically, forcing him into early retirement. He sat inside a dim room, clutching a cheap nutrient solution canister, watching the stream with a worn expression. Brother Taylor, you've supported me generously with gifts all this time. Lin Feng waved toward the camera. Today I've got a special gift for you. Taylor looked at Lin Feng in surprise. Truly, Boss Lin, but I've been crippled for 5 years. Will it really work? Taylor shook his head with a bitter laugh. Even Star Consortium's highest-grade restorative fluid cannot heal my mental core damage. Wasting your specialty crop on me might be pointless. They can't fix it because their technology is subpar. Lin Feng turned toward a metallic machine. When Li Xinghe laid eyes on the equipment, his eyes nearly bulged out of his head. That's a quantum single-point matter transporter. You're using military-grade hardware built for transporting classified microchips to ship farm produce. Unfazed, Lin Feng inserted an extremely expensive high-tier energy stone, placed the blaze pepper inside the transport chamber, and pressed the activation switch. Hey, that's the energy stone I gave you. This is such a waste. Anna winced beside him. The energy stone was part of her collection, obtained after hunting a powerful high-tier alien beast. To see Lin Feng squander it so casually made her puff her cheeks and step aside. A flash of white light erupted. On Taylor's rickety wooden table, the red pepper materialized out of thin air. "Eat it," Lin Feng instructed through the screen. "Don't chew. Swallow whole." Taylor did not hesitate. He grabbed the pepper, tilted his head back, and swallowed it. For the first 3 seconds, nothing happened. He even patted his stomach. "Boss Lin, this fruit doesn't taste like much. It just feels a little warm inside." His words had barely faded when his complexion drained then flushed bright red in an instant. He clutched his throat, knees buckling as he crashed to the floor. Veins bulged along his neck, his skin burning crimson, and thin white steam rose from the top of his head. Sweat soaked through his clothing in seconds. "Aya!" Taylor grabbed at his throat and let out a hoarse scream. He slammed heavily onto the ground, clawing at his chest and rolling wildly across the floor. The live stream chat erupted into chaos. "Whoa, Boss Lin poisoned a viewer. Murder. Call the interstellar authorities. Someone's going to die. I knew Earth products couldn't be trusted. This is biochemical poison." Taylor rolled on the ground for a long while. Just as the stream threatened to spiral completely out of control, he suddenly lurched upright. Eyes bloodshot, Taylor roared ferociously. His right fist cut through the air and slammed into a military-grade strength testing machine in the corner. Boom! The special alloy tester shuddered violently, twisting with the strange shriek of metal under immense force. Readings on its display raced wildly before freezing at a staggering number. Taylor stared numbly at his trembling fist, holding his breath. He quickly opened his personal terminal and pulled up his mental power diagnostics panel. Billions of viewers across the stars watched the split screen, clearly seeing his data. Taylor's mental power value, stagnant for 5 long years, had surged by 5% in an instant. The volatile spicy compounds had forcibly cleared blocked damaged cells caused by his old injury. His legs gave way. He dropped to his knees live on stream. This tough warrior who had never shed tears on the battlefield bowed toward Lin Feng and wept loudly, striking his forehead 3 times hard against the floor. "Boss Lin, you have given me a new life. From this day forward, my life belongs to you." The interstellar live stream fell silent for 10 full seconds. Then messages flooded in at an explosive rate. Military personnel, mercenary guilds, and star explorers across the galaxy went wild. For fighters constantly dancing on the edge of death, this was no ordinary farm crop. It was a power-enhancing miracle substance, an invaluable treasure capable of breaking genetic shackles. The interstellar network backend crashed under the traffic surge. Verified official accounts belonging to military commands and top conglomerates spammed the chat nonstop. First Fleet of the 3rd Sector Expeditionary Force offers 10 million star coins for 1 blaze pepper. We urgently require this substance capable of breaking genetic limits. Thunder Mercenary Corps bids 50 million star coins. Notice us, Boss Lin. Our commander has been stuck at B-class mental power for a decade. Imperial Royal Guard offers 100 million star coins. We demand exclusive rights to all existing stock. Money is no obstacle. Even the Interstellar Hunter Guild official account joined in. "Boss Lin, if you agree to sell, we will provide you with permanent free bodyguard detail." The logistics blockade edict Star Consortium had issued earlier became a ridiculous farce in the face of overwhelming profit and hordes of eager buyers across the galaxy. No one cared about a commercial conglomerate's blockade. When rewards were great enough to rewrite destinies, mercenaries and military powers from every corner of space would tear apart Star Consortium's defensive cordons themselves. Lin Feng watched the frenzy sweeping the interstellar web, tapping rhythmically on his control panel. Enough sending gifts. Lin Feng tapped the screen and shut down the donation channel. "First batch of blaze peppers, 10,000 units maximum. I will not accept star coins. Only barter trades." He opened the trade terms panel and pinned the list prominently at the top of the live broadcast. Priority trades, heavy industry master fabricators, advanced energy shield generators, and rare ores. Whoever can break through Star Consortium's blockade and deliver goods to Earth gets the peppers. Old Chen gasped beside him. Lin Feng planned to use the galaxy's frenzied buyers to tear down Star Consortium's blockade by proxy. It was masterful indirect strategy. Li Xinghe hobbled over to Lin Feng leaning on his metal cane. "You never intended to sell produce," he stared at Lin Feng. "You aimed to trade peppers for a complete heavy industry infrastructure." Lin Feng yawned, slowly removing his chemical-resistant gloves and tossing them into a waste recycling bin. "Farming needs proper machinery these days." He stretched, walked over to a crate of vegetables, picked up a washed cucumber, and took a bite. I can't keep guarding the fields every night. Proper hardware for defense will let me sleep soundly. Li Xinghe drew a sharp breath. He was 137 years old and had witnessed countless storms. Yet Lin Feng's countermove left him astounded. Star Consortium sought to trap Earth through logistics isolation. Lin Feng responded with a crop that could break mental power limits. Military forces and mercenaries across the galaxy, desperate to overcome their power bottlenecks, would charge headlong through Star Consortium's blockades, delivering infrastructure supplies Earth desperately needed of their own will. It was an unmissable open gambit. Outlaws who survived constant mortal danger would never abide by a corporate travel ban. With sufficient reward, they would not hesitate to annihilate Star Consortium's blockade fleets. Lin Feng did not need to fight a single battle. All those eager buyers scattered across the stars formed his impenetrable shield. Star Consortium headquarters, top floor office. Carl Reynolds smashed his expensive quantum mainframe with one punch. Sparks crackled, and shattered metal fragments scattered across the floor. His secretary stood trembling nearby, not daring to make a sound, terrified of being thrown out the window over the slightest noise. Emergency reports piled across the desk, documenting countless factions ignoring the travel ban and frantically assembling heavy industry supplies. Report to the executive. The 3rd Sector Expeditionary Force is assembling transport fleets. Thunder Mercenary Corps assault vessels are warming up warp drives. Destination Earth. The Interstellar Hunter Guild has posted its highest priority escort mission with a reward of 100 million star coins. Critical Intelligence continued scrolling across the backup displays. Carl opened a hologram channel and dialed the logistics chief of the Imperial Royal Guard directly. General, Earth's orbital space is designated Star Consortium S-Class restricted territory. Carl suppressed his rage. Dispatching transport vessels to contact Lin Feng amounts to open conflict against us. A uniformed, bulky officer sneered within the holographic projection. Carl, don't try to intimidate us with your corporation. Can your overpriced nutrient solutions help my soldiers break genetic barriers? Blocking paths to overcoming mental power stagnation is cutting people's lifelines. Star Consortium would be wise to stay out of this. Anyone who tries to stop us purchasing blaze peppers will face our 3rd Fleet's Star Destroyer cannons. The officer terminated the call without giving Carl room to reply. Carl shook with fury and dialed senior leadership of the Thunder Mercenary Corps next. The response was even more blunt. Executive Carl, I've been trapped at B-class mental power for 10 years. Anyone who keeps blaze peppers from me dies. Get lost. Interfere again, and we'll seize your transport convoys too. The hologram cut out once more. Carl clenched his fists so tightly his nails dug into his palms. Armed forces across the galaxy were spiraling out of control. The logistics blockade he had prided himself on had turned into an utter joke. Farm Plaza. Li Xinghe made an immediate decision. He understood they needed to seize the initiative before competing powers forced their way through the blockade. Li Xinghe activated his personal terminal and pulled up a top-secret red-marked star chart route in hologram form. Take a look, Boss Lin. Lin Feng leaned forward for a glance, then continued chewing his cucumber. This is an abandoned hyperspace smuggling wormhole built by Xinghe Group years ago. Li Xinghe tapped several points on the chart, highlighting the terminal coordinates. It bypasses Star Consortium's entire blockade network and leads straight to Earth's outer orbit. Lin Feng raised an eyebrow and looked Li Xinghe up and down. Old Li, a legitimate business operator running smuggling routes. Desperate times call for desperate measures. A businessman always keeps fallback options. Li Xinghe coughed to mask his awkwardness. I can deploy Xinghe Group's stealth transport ships to deliver your first shipment of heavy industry master fabricators and the latest Model S-Class energy shield generators. Lin Feng chewed his cucumber silently, waiting for the rest of the offer. Free shipping. Li Xinghe held up one finger. I ask for 10 blaze peppers, plus priority purchasing rights for all future harvests. Lin Feng swallowed his cucumber chunk and tossed the remaining half into the compost bin beside him. 10 is far too many. Your aging body cannot handle such a potent load. You might collapse instantly. Lin Feng stroked his chin. 3 peppers, plus a crate of fresh Chinese cabbages. Li Xinghe froze briefly before breaking into an ecstatic grin. He had expected Lin Feng to demand an outrageous price and had prepared to pay dearly. Blaze peppers were overwhelmingly powerful, and his frail body truly could not withstand a large dose. Consuming too much could kill him instantly. Yet every ordinary green vegetable Lin Feng grew carried potent vitality-enhancing effects. That crate of Chinese cabbages lacked the violent side effects of the peppers and offered gentle nourishment perfectly suited to his physical condition. To those who knew their worth, The crate of cabbages was as valuable as top-tier genetic pharmaceuticals. Deal. Li Xinghe slapped his thigh and turned at once to arrange personnel. Less than 3 hours later, a heavily camouflaged Xinghe group smuggling vessel emerged from the abandoned wormhole and touched down silently on open ground behind the Earth farm. Massive landing gear slammed into the soil, kicking up clouds of dust. The hatch slowly slid open. Dozens of fully automated cargo robots marched out in orderly formation. Brand-new heavy industry master fabricators and cutting-edge S-class energy shield generators were carefully unloaded onto the clearing. Old Chun and One Eye hurried forward, rubbing their hands excitedly. Anna rushed over as well, staring at the equipment shimmering with blue energy light in awe. Good heavens, these are tightly regulated military-grade goods. One Eye stroked the alloy casing of a shield generator, nearly drooling. Boss, with these, we can withstand fire not only from Star Consortium patrol craft, but even sustain bombardment from cruiser main cannons. Old Chin swallowed hard beside him. I can't imagine how many star coins this shipment is worth. He trembled, hesitant to touch the precision machinery. Lin Feng directed the robots to bury shield generators at pre-plotted positions encircling the farm. Finally, no more worrying about someone sneaking over to steal cucumbers in the middle of the night. Lin Feng brushed dirt off his hands, satisfied. One Eye stumbled and nearly fell into an excavation pit. Using military S-class shielding systems as a security fence to guard cucumbers? Such reckless extravagance was unparalleled across the galaxy. Still, the logic held. Lin Feng's cucumbers were nothing like ordinary produce. After the final generator was installed, Lin Feng pressed the activation switch. A low hum resonated from beneath the ground. Pale blue energy domes surged upward from each generator node, weaving a dense defensive barrier high above and wrapping the entire farm. The air filled with the sharp tang of concentrated energy. A faint glow shimmered over the farm before fading into invisibility. Earth's defensive capability rose to an entirely new tier in that moment. Star Consortium headquarters. Carl Reynolds stared at the tactical display, picking up intense S-class energy signatures, his face darkening. Direct assault was no longer viable. Forcing a bombardment against a planet protected by S-class shielding would trigger full-scale intervention from the Interstellar Federation. Mass public outrage across the stars would ruin the conglomerate's reputation irreparably. Star Consortium could not afford such consequences. Carl pressed his forehead and paced back and forth across his office. His secretary kept their head lowered, breathing softly to avoid provoking him. If brute force blockade fails, Carl halted his steps and let out a cold laugh. We erase him through official channels. Alert the legal department and contact the Interstellar Patent Bureau immediately. The secretary quickly jotted down the order. Promise those greedy officials at the Patent Bureau doubled year-end bonuses for their cooperation. Carl planted both palms on his desk, grinding his teeth. I will ensure not a single blade of grass continues to grow on Earth. Earth Farm. Lin Feng squatted along the field ridge, observing growth patterns of the new Chinese cabbage strain, Cross, referencing readings on a data recorder. Li Xinghe's wrist terminal suddenly emitted an urgent buzzing tone. It was a highest priority encrypted communication request. Li Xinghe opened the channel, scanned the incoming message, and his expression turned grim. He strode over to Lin Feng and lowered his voice. Trouble. Lin Feng did not look up, continuing to loosen soil around the cabbages. No need to panic. Taller folks can bear the weight if the sky falls. Star Consortium is preparing to file suit against you. Li Xinghe's tone grew heavy, locking eyes with Lin Feng. They have colluded with the Interstellar Patent Bureau, claiming all your crops infringe core genetic patents owned by Star Consortium's gene repository. Lin Feng paused his work for a split second. Once the case officially opens, the Interstellar Court can deploy armed enforcement teams. Li Xinghe took a deep breath, unable to hide his anxiety. They have no need to argue fairly. They possess supreme authority granted by the Interstellar Federation to act against patent violations. Under the pretense of intellectual property enforcement, they can seize assets lawfully, destroy property lawfully, bomb Earth back into the Stone Age, and wipe out every crop you have cultivated. Li Xinghe's voice cracked as his cane banged sharply against the ground. Lin Feng did not even lift his head, fully focused on tending to his newly cultivated tomatoes. Old Li, your mental fortitude leaves much to be desired. After over 100 years of life, you still get startled so easily. Lin Feng plucked a fully ripe tomato and brought it to his nose. A rich, sweet and tangy aroma wafted out at once, refreshing the senses. Li Xinghe stamped his leg anxiously. My good sir, how can you still fuss over these red fruits at a time like this? The Patent Bureau's Armed Enforcement Unit is already en route. They hold official authorization from the Interstellar Federation. Our S-class shields can fend off pirates, but not the Federation's regular troops. Once shots are fired, the entire Earth will become a legitimate target. Lin Feng stood up and brushed soil off his trousers. No need to panic. Let's first see what they intend to do. Gritting his teeth, Li Xinghe pulled up a holographic screen. Emergency statements from Star Consortium were scrolling non-stop across all interstellar news channels. Shock. Earth farmer unmasked as interstellar thief who stole Star Consortium's core gene bank. Strongly condemn Lin Feng's banditry. Call on the entire interstellar community to boycott his illegal crops. Interstellar Patent Bureau launches investigation. Maximum sanctions to be imposed against the infringer. In the upper corner of the feed, a bright red live stream shutdown countdown hung over Lin Feng's interstellar broadcast. 5 o'clock. The comments section had descended into total chaos. Shameless thief. He deserves the death penalty. I always thought it was impossible for the barren Earth to bear crops capable of breaking genetic locks. Turns out he stole Star Consortium's confidential data. Boycott Lin Feng. Bring down the thief. Bomb the Earth flat. Li Xinghe paced frantically. All the mercenaries and military leaders are staying silent right now. They want the explosive chili, yet none dare openly defy patent laws at this critical moment. This touches the Interstellar Federation's bottom line. Star Consortium aims to erase you completely by manipulating the rules. Lin Feng glanced at the glowing red countdown and tossed the red fruit into a basin of water nearby. Very well. Since they are all so eager to watch a show, I will give them one worth seeing. Lin Feng activated his personal terminal and launched a holographic live broadcast directly. For minutes remained on the countdown. Tens of millions of viewers flooded into the stream instantly. A deluge of hostile comments nearly crashed the server, all demanding Lin Feng withdraw from the interstellar network. Lin Feng said nothing. He slowly dragged over a small stool, fetched a stone mortar for pounding garlic from the kitchen, dropped in the washed tomato, and pounded it vigorously into a bright red pulp. The fresh, sweet, sour scent grew even stronger. Anna, who had been squatting nearby observing, twitched her nose. Her eyes lit up immediately. She swallowed hard, leaned toward the mortar, and stared fixedly at the red pulp. Lin Feng, is this some new dessert? It smells wonderful. Can I have a taste? Anna stretched out her fair fingers, intending to dip them into the mortar. Lin Feng shot her a glance and quickly pressed his hand against the princess's shoulder, forcing her down onto a bamboo chair beside him. Save the tasting. This is meant for external use only. Lin Feng scooped up the tomato pulp from the mortar and unceremoniously spread it all over Anna's noble, pale face. Hey, what are you doing? Anna let out a cry and tried to struggle, yet Lin Feng held her firmly in place. The live stream comments erupted, and the hostile remarks intensified to an unprecedented degree. What is this con artist doing? Smearing that paste all over the young lady's face. He must have given up and lost his mind. Where is Star Consortium's legal team? Arrest him at once. How dare he mistreat the princess? Star Consortium's official account even pinned a bold red message to the top of the comment section. Lin Feng, all your illegal acts have been documented. Cease resistance immediately and hand over the stolen genetic samples, or the Armed Enforcement Unit will execute you on sight. Only 1 minute remained on the countdown. Lin Feng washed his hands in the basin, wrung out a hot towel, and laid it over Anna's face. Wipe it off. Anna took the hot towel with a look of grievance and rubbed the tomato residue from her skin, muttering under her breath. It left my face all sticky. If this isn't good, I won't let you off. The holographic camera zoomed in automatically for a close-up of Anna's face. The flood of scrolling comments froze in an instant. Complete silence fell over the live stream. Suffering from long-term anorexia and spiritual power instability, Anna's skin had always borne an unhealthy pallor, with faint fine lines around her eyes from constant fatigue. Now, however, her complexion glowed pink and fair. Areas that had once looked dull and rough had grown softer than an infant's skin. Her features radiated striking vitality, plump and hydrated, and every trace of weariness had vanished. Whoa, what just happened? Did he turn on max-level beauty filters? Impossible. Holographic live feeds cannot use any form of filtering. Li Xinghe stood rooted to the spot. The high-grade vital sign detector strapped to his wrist suddenly emitted a shrill alarm. He stared at the readings, his hands trembling so violently he nearly dropped the device. Cell activity increased by 3%. Trace telomerase extension detected. Li Xinghe's voice shook, his eyes bulging. This cannot be. It absolutely cannot be. Telomerase extension. What did that mean? It meant this substance could directly prolong lifespan. Countless formulations capable of slowing aging existed across interstellar space, yet nothing could fundamentally boost cellular activity and trigger telomerase extension. This was nothing short of miraculous. This is the youth tomato. Lin Feng spoke slowly to the camera. All natural, with zero side effects. Apply a mask once daily, and reclaim the looks of an 18-year-old. For your information, Star Consortium's worthless gene bank does not contain a matching genetic sequence for this crop. As his words ended, the countdown hit 0. The live stream screen cut to black, forcibly terminated by the platform. Nevertheless, the 10-second close-up footage, alongside the shocking data flashing on Li Xinghe's detector, had been captured by countless viewers. Numerous intelligence brokers and wealthy noblewomen had recorded the feed without delay. At the top floor of Star Consortium's headquarters, Carl Reynolds stared at the black screen and let out a cold snort, swirling the wine in his goblet. Empty bravado. Notify the legal department and order the enforcement unit to move out at once. Raise that earth farm to the ground. The office door was suddenly thrown open with force. A secretary stumbled inside, face ashen, one shoe lost in the rush, trembling all over. Director, disaster strikes. The secretary was practically screaming. VIP clients at our 3 flagship interstellar beauty hospitals are rioting. They demand full refunds and threaten to tear down our establishments. Carl's wine goblet froze mid-motion, red wine spilling across his fingers. What did you say? Those noble ladies watched the recording of Lin Feng's live stream. They are furious, claiming our genetic beauty injections are worthless. Every influential noblewoman across the upper echelons is demanding we hand over the youth tomato. Our legal department's communication channels have been flooded with complaints from military officers' wives until they ceased functioning. Word spread like wildfire among noblewomen across the interstellar territories. These women usually kept a low profile, passing their days at tea gatherings discussing mecha paint schemes. Yet their husbands, sons, and fathers held positions of immense power within the Interstellar Federation. Financial conglomerate leaders, high-ranking military officers, political figures, all faced a fierce storm within their own households. The commander of the 3rd Sector Expeditionary Force returned home immediately after a military conference, still wearing his uniform, only to have his ears seized by his wife. I don't care what methods you use. If you fail to get your hands on the youth tomato today, you will go sleep in the cryogenic chamber of your starship. How dare you send troops to blockade Earth? Harm a single hair on Farmer Lin's head, and I will blow up your command center this instant. The wife of a mining magnate took an even more direct approach, slamming a crate of high-grade energy or before her husband. Buy it. Spend every asset we own to acquire it. If I cannot regain my youthful appearance, I will file for divorce tomorrow, split all our assets, and sell every one of your mining planets to get those tomatoes. The Interstellar live streaming platform's customer service center was overwhelmed. Billions of complaints poured in like snowflakes, crippling the service system within 5 minutes. The platform's chief executive wiped sweat inside his office, utterly stunned by the scale of the uproar. His personal terminal suddenly rang. Once connected, the icy voice of a powerful imperial duchess echoed through the speaker. Restore Lin Feng's live stream within 3 minutes. Otherwise, your head and your platform will vanish from the cosmos. Do not think I am unaware of the bribes you accepted from Star Consortium. The executive jolted in fright. He scrambled out of his office and roared at the technical team. Restart the stream. Bring the Earth Farmers broadcast back online immediately. Anyone who stands in the way answers to me. Back at the Earth Farm, Li Xinghe grinned until the wrinkles on his face bunched together. He set aside his cane and paced excitedly around the yard. Brother Lin, you wield the strategy of turning others' strength against them masterfully. Li Xinghe refreshed his terminal constantly, pulling up streams of intelligence. We do not need to lift a finger now. Those noble women will tear Star Consortium apart. Every powerful figure must be drowning in troubles right now. Lin Feng squatted beside the crop ridges, loosening soil around the tomato seedlings with a small shovel. We still need a solid legal footing. We cannot allow them to pin false accusations on us. That group will fabricate any excuse when cornered. Leave it to me. Li Xinghe slapped his thigh hard. The dozens of top-tier lawyers maintained by Xinghe Group are not idle. I have instructed them to deliver stacks of counter-suits, charging Star Consortium with defamation and requesting an open hearing before the Interstellar Tribunal. This time, I will make them return everything they have wrongfully gained, with interest. 3 hours later, the holographic courtroom of the Interstellar Tribunal was in session. Over 100 billion viewers tuned in to watch, setting an all-time viewership record for the tribunal. The viewing gallery was packed with representatives from all factions. Many veiled noble women attended in person. Star Consortium's lead attorney stood arrogantly at the plaintiff's bench and projected a glowing virtual document. Your Honor, this is the appraisal report from Star Consortium's core gene bank. The crops cultivated by Lin Feng share a 99% genetic match with our confidential data. This constitutes irrefutable proof of theft. All illegal crops on Earth must be destroyed without delay. A murmur rippled through the gallery. Lin Feng did not appear in court, entrusting the entire case to Xinghe Group's legal team. Xinghe Group's chief attorney adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and rose slowly, a mocking smile playing across his lips. Your Honor, the plaintiff's appraisal report is utterly baseless. The attorney activated his terminal and projected a massive dataset into the center of the courtroom. This is an ancient plant gene map recovered from deep permafrost on Earth, fully authenticated by the Interstellar Archaeological Association at the highest level. Holographic projections displayed the forms of ancient plants unfurling one after another, including tomatoes, cucumbers, and Chinese cabbages. Precise carbon-14 dating data appeared beside each specimen. These plants existed on the ancestral planet Earth thousands of years ago. Mr. Lin merely revived these ancient native crops. The attorney's voice rang out firmly. If genetic overlap exists, it means Star Consortium stole the genetic heritage of ancestral Earth, not that Mr. Lin stole from them. They are the true thieves crying, "Stop thief." This devastating counterargument left Star Consortium's attorney dumbfounded, unable to utter a single retort for a long time. Before their team could recover, the courtroom doors swung wide open. Anna strode into the chamber dressed in an ornate imperial royal gown and high heels. Silence descended over the entire venue. Anna walked to the center of the courtroom and motioned for the holographic camera to zoom in on her face. I am Anna Augustus, first heir to the imperial throne. Her voice was clear and resonant. I personally tested Mr. Lin's crops. Everyone may observe my current skin condition, alongside the latest physical examination report issued by an interstellar hospital. Her flawless, vibrant features, paired with the vital statistics displayed beside her, ignited a frenzy across the interstellar network. I speak on behalf of the imperial household to publicly question the impartiality of the Interstellar Patent Bureau. Anna shot a cold glance toward Star Consortium's bench. If any party attempts to eliminate such a discovery capable of benefiting all interstellar civilizations under the pretense of patent rights, the imperial household will not stand idly by. The judge seated on the high bench felt cold dread creep down his spine. He glanced at the flood of messages from noble supporters filling the holographic screen. Without hesitation, he struck the gavel. Judgment rendered, Lin Feng prevails. The absolute native legal status of Earth's crops is formally confirmed. Star Consortium is charged with defamation and evidence falsification. The corporation will face top-tier anti-monopoly investigation and substantial fines. The moment the ruling took effect, the interstellar network erupted. Star Consortium's stock price plummeted 10% within 5 minutes, wiping trillions of interstellar credits from its market value. Countless shareholders rushed to sell their shares. Meanwhile, capital prepared in advance by Li Xinghe surged into the market, seizing Star Consortium's market share on a large scale. At the Earth Farm, Lin Feng watched his live stream regain service, welcoming an immediate influx of 1 billion viewers. He brushed soil from his hands with satisfaction. Slowly, he hung a wooden sign inside the broadcast room. Youth tomatoes, 10 available daily. Not purchasable with interstellar credits. Trade exclusively for high-grade energy ore. The comment section was instantly flooded with messages begging to place orders and urging him to increase supply. Lin Feng bit into a freshly washed tomato. Juices burst forth, sweet and tart. Funds for the next phase of farm expansion had been secured. Meanwhile, inside Star Consortium headquarters, Carl Reynolds, facing impeachment by the board of directors, glared with bloodshot eyes like a wild beast trapped at bay. Useless. All of you are useless. He snatched a metallic ornament from his desk and smashed the holographic projection displaying the tribunal ruling into fragments. Debris littered the office floor. Secretaries cowered in the corner, afraid to breathe loudly. Carl gasped heavily, his chest heaving. Find a solution. Every last one of you. Find a solution at once. The secretaries remained silent. They had no solutions to offer. Carl Reynolds sat amid his wrecked office. Shattered fragments of holographic equipment scattered across the floor as harsh red warning lights flickered overhead. The tribunal judgment had closed all legitimate avenues of action. Star Consortium's stock curve continued its steep decline. Legal measures were no longer viable. Public opinion had been fully seized by the coalition of noble women. Carl slammed his fist onto the solid wooden desk. Do they think a handful of plants can overturn Star Consortium's position? Never. He opened an encrypted private channel on his terminal and entered a long sequence of complex codes to access the interstellar dark web. Shortly afterward, the virtual avatar of a black market intermediary lit up. The intermediary cut straight to the point without idle talk. Boss Carl, what you are asking for carries extreme risk. Routes to Earth are under close surveillance by numerous powers. Arranging delivery will not be simple. Carl ignored the excuses and transferred a massive sum of credits. 100 billion interstellar credits. This covers procurement and hush money. Deliver crop samples from Lin Feng's farm as soon as possible. Seeing the long string of digits added to his account, the intermediary's tone turned eager. Boss, you are generous. I guarantee satisfactory results. 2 days later, the intermediary sent a message. Goods dispatched via a private wormhole. Please doing business. Less than half a day afterward, a top-secret encrypted shipping package arrived at Star Consortium's S-class classified laboratory. Carl stood outside a sterile isolation chamber, staring at the objects resting on a metal tray. One wrinkled youth tomato, alongside a section of dried explosive chili. These were the items acquired at the cost of 100 billion interstellar credits. The chief genetic scientist, fully clad in protective gear, carefully sliced a fragment of tomato tissue and placed it into the gene analyzer. Data scrolled rapidly across the screen. The scientist adjusted his goggles and turned toward Carl, radiating confidence. Director, although the sample has lost some vitality, the core genetic chain remains intact. Carl stared at the genetic mapping on the display. Can we replicate it? With our corporation's industry leading cloning technology, this poses no challenge whatsoever. The scientist quickly input commands into the control panel and pulled up multiple contingency plans. I can produce a perfect replica of the crop within 3 days. Once we obtain the complete gene sequence, mass industrial production is only a matter of time. Carl let out a long breath, the frustration weighing on him these past few days lifting. Excellent. I will let the entire interstellar community witness who truly dominates life sciences. Make arrangements. Spare no expense. I want tangible results within 3 days. At the same time, on Earth's farm, Lin Feng lay comfortably in a yard-rocking chair, checking recent accounts on his terminal. A small stealth transport vessel descended slowly onto the open ground behind the farm. The hatch opened. Fully armed guards carried more than a dozen heavy alloy crates down to the surface. Li Xinghe hobbled forward leaning on his cane, wearing a smile. Brother Lin, the high-grade energy ore you requested took immense effort to source. I secured this shipment through smuggling routes in Sector 7. Such resources are hard to come by even on the black market. Lin Feng walked over to the alloy crates and pried open one at random. It was filled with or shimmering pale blue, emanating a dense energy aura, undeniably premium, grade material. Well done, Oldly. Lin Feng rested his palm against the crate without drawing attention and focused his mind. The familiar mechanical prompt echoed within his thoughts. High, grade energy source detected. Convert to farm upgrade points? Convert. The dozens of crates of or instantly turned to fine powder, vanishing without a trace. Farmland expanded and optimized. Soil fertility increased by 50%. Primary energy shield unlocked. Coverage, entire farm. Capable of withstanding one direct strike from a standard starship main cannon. Lin Feng brushed dust off his hands in satisfaction. This trade had been extraordinarily profitable. Li Xinghe stared at the now empty crates, his eyelids twitching. He had experienced countless events over his century-long life, yet witnessing Lin Feng make high grade or vanish out of thin air still struck him as uncanny. He tactfully refrained from asking further questions. Everyone had their own secrets. Li Xinghe pulled up his terminal interface, dragged over a chair, and sat down. Brother Lin, the Star Group has been eerily quiet these past few days. That old dog Carl suffered such heavy losses. He will never let it go. He must be plotting something underhanded. Lin Feng leaned back into the lounge chair and picked up the glass of plain water beside him to take a sip. There's no need to concern ourselves with them. They can't stir up much trouble. Lin Feng yawned. Old Li, source a full set of top-tier botanical research equipment for me. The more advanced, the better. Li Xinghe stared in surprise. You're planning to conduct scientific research? Not me. Lin Feng nodded toward the distance. Li Xinghe followed his gaze. Professor Murphy, with graying hair, was squatting in the field. Holding a high magnification magnifying glass, he stared intently at the leaf of a Chinese cabbage, muttering a string of complex data and formulas to himself. Build a laboratory for this eccentric old man. He insists on staying on Earth, so we ought to give him something to occupy his time. Otherwise, he'll keep wandering around my farm fields all day. Lin Fen curled his lip in a look of mild distaste. Very well, I'll make arrangements. Li Xinhe nodded, then abruptly shifted the subject. That said, you need to prepare more delicacies. I've grown a little tired of the dishes you made a few days ago. Lin Fen smiled. You old man, you have quite the discerning palate. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Star Group headquarters, Class S confidential laboratory. Rows of towering transparent cloning pods stood neatly arranged, with pale green nutrient solution circulating continuously inside them. More than a dozen fist-sized tomatoes and over 10 fiery red chili peppers floated within the liquid, thriving. On the surface, they looked identical to crops grown on Earth farms. Carl stood behind the one-way glass in the monitoring room, hands braced against the control console, letting out an arrogant laugh. Lin Fen, do you think you can control me with ancient plant cultivation techniques? In the face of overwhelming capital and technology, you are nothing but a joke. The chief doctor stepped forward with an obsequious expression, pointing at the analytical charts displayed on the screen. Executive sir, the crops maintain highly stable vital signs. Their nutritional content is even 5% higher than the original specimens. Our gene editing technology has perfectly remedied the flaws of the ancient plants. Notify the public relations department at once. Carl slammed his palm down on the communication button. Launch pre-release promotions across the interstellar network for the press conference. I will announce to the entire galaxy that Star Group has successfully developed equivalent alternatives and plans unrestricted mass production. As soon as the news spread, the interstellar network erupted instantly. Countless netizens flooded the official account of Star Group to leave comments. Is this real? Is Star Group going to slash the prices of Earth-grown crops? Capital truly holds immense power. They cracked it in merely 3 days. Boss Lin's scarcity marketing strategy is finally going to backfire. Everyone will soon be able to afford Vitality tomatoes. The Public Relations Department launched a massive publicity campaign, purchasing trending topics across all major platforms and pushing public expectations across the galaxy to a peak. Inside the laboratory, the doctor prepared to retrieve the first batch of clone samples to transport to the press conference for exhibition. He pressed the fluid drainage switch, and the nutrient solution slowly drained out of the cloning pods. The moment the crops came into contact with air, ear-piercing alarms blared frantically throughout the laboratory. Warning: unknown fragmentation detected in specimen gene chains. Warning: life energy undergoing reversal. Carl spun sharply to stare at the large screen. Large black patches spread across the bright red tomato surfaces at a speed visible to the naked eye. The fiery red chili peppers underwent an even stranger transformation. Their volume expanded rapidly, and their color shifted in an instant to an unsettling purplish black. What is happening? Carl grabbed the doctor by his collar and shouted loudly. The doctor stared at the data on the console in horror, his fingers trembling. This cannot be. The gene maps match completely. Why is a rejection reaction occurring? The plant cells are dying rapidly. They are converting life energy into toxins. Without nourishment from Earth's unique soil and irrigation water from the farm system, these ancient plant genes could not adapt to the free radiation environment of the interstellar era. Boom. A dull crash echoed out. Inside the cloning pod closest to the doctor, one inflated purplish, black chili pepper exploded violently. A dense cloud of purple gas instantly filled the pod chamber, then corroded through the high-strength glass and spread outward rapidly. The laboratory's air purification system failed immediately. Several senior researchers in the front row inhaled a breath of the purple vapor. The next second, they collapsed straight to the ground, foaming at the mouth and convulsing. Their mental energy monitors then emitted urgent alarms. Readings shot straight toward the rampage threshold before dropping to 0 completely as the researchers lost consciousness. Nerve toxin. Evacuate immediately. Terrified out of his wits, the doctor scrambled toward the explosion-proof door. In the monitoring room, Carl's face turned ashen. He watched helplessly as the Class S laboratory built at enormous cost turned into a scene of catastrophe. The costly cloning equipment emitted plumes of black smoke under corrosion from the toxic gas, and the top research team lay scattered on the ground, their fates unknown. His entire core research team was wiped out in an instant. Seal off the laboratory. Initiate full disinfection and decontamination. Carl roared hoarsely into the communicator. Issue the highest level gag order. Anyone who leaks a single word about what happened here will face retaliation against their entire family. Earth Farm. Professor Murphy rushed into the courtyard with disheveled white hair, clutching a stack of printed reports, moving with surprising speed. A miracle. This is a miracle in biological history. Lin Fun was watering newly planted cucumber seedlings and nearly jumped in fright at the old man's outburst. Slow down, old man. Don't trample my seedlings. You couldn't afford to pay for them even if you sold everything you own. Professor Murphy paid no heed. He shoved the report straight in front of Lin Fun's face. Look, Star Group's Class S laboratory suffered a catastrophic incident. Lin Fun raised an eyebrow and skimmed through the reports. They were filled with curve graphs recording abnormal energy fluctuations alongside emergency treatment data secretly transmitted from the Interstellar Central Hospital. Professor Murphy waved his hands excitedly, spraying saliva as he spoke. I've been keeping tabs on them even while staying on Earth. They attempted to clone your crops by force and triggered a destructive genetic backlash. Your plants possess unique environmental dependency. Removed from this land, they undergo irreversible mutation and transform into lethal poisons. Lin Fun handed the reports back to Professor Murphy, somewhat amused. The old professor was letting his imagination run wild. There was no such thing as environmental dependency. The uncertified defective clones simply could not survive. Even so, Star Group had well and truly shot themselves in the foot this time. Since the other party had willingly held out their cheeks, it would be a shame not to strike them hard, given his naturally calculating temperament. Lin Fun set down the watering can and walked into the courtyard. Old Li prepared a short Star Group stock. Li Xinhe poked his head out from the house, thoroughly confused. What are you planning? I'm going to help Executive Carl host his new product launch conference. The Interstellar Network was already in an uproar. 1 hour had passed since the scheduled time for Star Group's announced press conference. The official channel remained a blank black screen, with no staff stepping forward to offer any explanation. Netizens' patience wore thin, and all kinds of speculation spread wildly. At that moment, a follow reminder sounded on countless personal terminals. The streamer you follow, Earth Farmer Lin Fun, has gone live. In merely 3 seconds, the live broadcast concurrent viewer count exceeded 5 billion. Still climbing at an astonishing rate. Bullet comments flooded the screen, scrolling too quickly to read clearly. Why is Boss Lin streaming right now? Star Group is about to release substitute products. Is Boss Lin panicking? The price of Earth crops is finally going down. You should cut your prices now. Lin Fun sat in the lounge chair holding a bright red Vitality tomato. He took a bite facing the camera. Juices burst forth, and the crisp crunch carried across the entire galaxy through the audio equipment. I hear Star Group over there is holding a press conference. Lin Fun chewed slowly, then grabbed a tissue to wipe his hands. What a coincidence. I've just received the latest internal product test report from them. Happiness shared is happiness multiplied, so I'll show everyone to broaden your horizons. He tapped a few commands on the control panel before him. High-definition photographs and detailed data reports were projected directly onto the live broadcast screen for all to see. The first photograph showed the black, spotted tomatoes and swollen purplish, black chili peppers. The second captured cloning pods filled with purple toxic gas, alongside experimental equipment riddled with corrosion damage. The third displayed researchers collapsed on the ground, foaming at the mouth, their lives hanging in the balance. Attached at the end was a diagnosis certificate for severe neurotoxin poisoning issued by the Interstellar Central Hospital, clearly stamped with Star Group's official seal. Dead silence descended over the live stream. A full 5 seconds passed before the bullet comments erupted in full force. Good heavens. This looks like a biochemical disaster scene. Independent research and development? This is the so-called equivalent alternative they promised? They poisoned so many people. Does Star Group intend to exterminate humanity? They tried to steal Boss Lin's crop technology and suffered backlash. They deserve this. Lin Fun tossed the leftover tomato stem into a nearby trash bin. A gentle reminder for everyone. He leaned closer to the camera with a mild, harmless smile. Crops grown on Earth are rather particular about their growing grounds. Without this soil's approval, forced cloning will only produce highly potent biochemical weapons. If you want genuine produce, bring your high-grade energy ores and queue honestly in my live stream. This public denunciation sent shockwaves rippling across the galaxy. Star Group's hard-earned reputation, built over decades, collapsed completely at this moment. The self-proclaimed leading life sciences conglomerate became a galactic joke, having failed to steal technology and instead poisoned its own research team. Capital markets reacted instantly. Investors scrambled to offload Star Group's stock, and withdrawal requests flooded group headquarters. Inside a guest room on Earth Farm, Li Xinhe stared at the constantly fluctuating figures on his terminal and grinned from ear to ear. Major capital forces under Xinhe Group aggressively shorted shares on the stock market. In just half an hour, they seized hundreds of billions of Star coins, delivering a devastating blow to Star Group's already precarious financial situation. Star Group headquarters. Carl Reynolds stared fixedly at Lin Fun's mocking face displayed on the screen. A violent surge of nausea rose in his chest. Puffed. He spat a mouthful of blood onto the control console, staining the glowing buttons. "Executive, sir." The secretary rushed forward in alarm, trying to support him. Carl roughly pushed the secretary away. His eyes bloodshot, he lost all rationality. He could not win through commercial competition. His attempts to reverse engineer technology ended in disaster, and now the very foundation of his enterprise was on the verge of being uprooted. "If you leave me no way to survive, then we will perish together." He stumbled to his feet and dialed a hidden communication number on the fringes of the galaxy via an encrypted low-level network. A holographic projection appeared, showing a burly man wearing a skull mask. The leader of Blackwater Mercenary Corps, the most notorious armed faction in interstellar space. Carl gritted his teeth, his voice hoarse and terrible. "I offer 200 billion star coins." The masked man let out a rough laugh. "That is a generous sum, Boss Carl. Tell me, who needs to be eliminated?" "Fully blockade all navigation routes leading to Earth." Carl slammed his fist against the table, his features twisted with rage. "Destroy every transport ship carrying industrial raw materials and high-grade ores bound for Earth the moment they enter the asteroid belt, no prior warnings. I will cut off all his supplies and trap Earth as an isolated dead planet." Shortly afterward, flames blazed within the asteroid belt on the interstellar frontier. Two heavy cargo ships marked with Xinhe Group insignia emerged from the distorted space of the jump channel. Before they could activate their protective shields, they were struck simultaneously by more than a dozen high-energy laser beams. The massive hulls disintegrated instantly in the vacuum, breaking into countless burning metal fragments. All the high-grade energy ores and cutting-edge laboratory equipment stored aboard were reduced to cosmic debris. A holographic transmission was forcibly inserted onto the public communication channel. A burly man wearing a pale skull mask sat casually in the command chair. Three menacing heavy-armed annihilation vessels formed the backdrop behind him. "All cargo traders across the galaxy, listen closely." The masked man's voice was coarse and harsh. "As of now, all navigation routes to Earth fall under the control of Blackwater Mercenary Corps. Anyone who transports even a scrap of metal or a drop of nutrient solution toward Earth will share the fate of these two ships. The indefinite navigation blockade is now in effect." The transmission cut off immediately afterward. Earth Farm. Li Xinhe kicked open the courtyard gate and stormed into the backyard, his face dark with fury. He slammed his personal terminal down onto the stone table. "Trouble. Blackwater Mercenary Corps blew up our cargo ships." Li Xinhe gasped for breath, his eyes reddened, rapidly scrolling data across the screen. "The three subsequent cargo convoys have all canceled their shipments. The Shipping Association has blacklisted all routes to Earth, and our supply of certain industrial raw materials has been cut off." Professor Murphy emerged from the greenhouse with messy hair, clutching a wrench, stamping his feet in anger. "My laboratory. My anti-gravity base frame. Construction only lacked that batch of core materials to finish. Have these interstellar pirates lost their minds, sabotaging my research project?" Linfen squatted beside the field ridge, holding a small shovel to add soil around newly sprouted special crop seedlings. He did not even lift his head when he heard Li Xinhe shouting, merely brushing dirt off his hands. "Calm down. Tall people bear the brunt if the sky falls." Linfen stood and walked over to the well to wash his hands. He knew full well this was undoubtedly that schemer Carl's doing. Having lost commercial competition and suffered a backlash when attempting to steal technology, he was now resorting to physically cutting off supply lines. An old yet despicable tactic. Linfen summoned the farm system interface, visible only to himself. Territory upgrade progress. 99% process suspended, insufficient high-grade energy source. He then opened the system defense interface. Orbital biological defense cannon. Capable of launching high-energy plasma strikes against near-orbit targets. Exchange price, 100,000 high-grade energy points per unit. Linfen glanced at the meager few thousand energy points in his account and sighed inwardly. The system's pricing was utterly outrageous. He could not afford even one. Lin Fun, say something. Li Xinhe paced anxiously. Without our supplies, you cannot upgrade the protective shield. Sooner or later, this farm will be bombed flat. What should I say? Lin Fun shook water from his hands. They are pointing weapons straight at us. Will shouting insults make them withdraw? Star Group headquarters, underground intensive care ward. Carl Reynolds lay inside a top-tier medical pod, his complexion ashen, several infusion tubes still inserted in his chest. Watching the footage of the destroyed cargo ships sent by Blackwater Mercenary Corps, he suddenly broke into a wild laugh. Cough, good. Excellent. Laughing strained his injuries, triggering a fit of coughing that brought up more blood, yet he paid it no mind. His eyes burned with crazed delight. Executive, sir, you need rest. The secretary stepped forward nervously, holding out a tissue. Carl swatted the secretary's hand away and pointed at the screen. Inform the Public Relations Department immediately. Push news of Blackwater Mercenary Corps' navigation blockade all across the network. Purchase the most expensive traffic packages available. I want every person in the galaxy to know Earth is a backward backwater lacking basic industry. Without high-grade energy supplies, Linfen cannot grow a single crop. Maintain the blockade for half a month, and Earth will truly become a dead planet. Let me see what he can use to fight me then. Earth. Anna now had her own residence. Dressed in loose casual wear, she sat on an expensive sofa eating vitality tomatoes grown by Linfen. A few days earlier, she had contacted the Imperial royal family and arranged for professional construction crews to build a private house for her on the farm. She no longer needed to sleep in the corner of the greenhouse. Your Highness, a senior Imperial officer strode in and dropped to one knee with a solemn expression. All navigation routes to Earth have been blockaded by Blackwater Mercenary Corps, with Star Group manipulating events behind the scenes. Every supply vessel bound for Earth has been forced to turn back. It is growing unsafe for you to remain here. Perhaps, slap. The officer had not finished speaking when Anna slammed her palm against the coffee table before her. She said nothing, merely staring at the officer. The officer swallowed hard and forced himself to continue his report. Intelligence indicates construction work across Earth has ground to a halt. For your safety, I must state, what did you say? Anna's voice was soft, yet it seemed to drop the temperature in the room to freezing. Cold sweat broke out across the officer's back. Your Highness, I understand you hold Lin Fun in high regard, but Blackwater Mercenary Corps is the largest band of outlaws on the galactic frontier, and Star Group is a major Imperial taxpayer. The officer lifted his head, attempting to reason with her. Mobilizing royal forces to intervene in this commercial dispute over a discarded descendant of the Lin clan will spark fierce opposition in the Senate. It violates the royal family's neutrality policy. Crash. Anna rose abruptly and kicked the priceless glazed coffee table into pieces. The officer threw himself flat on the ground, too afraid to make a sound. Anna looked down at him. Her normally elegant and noble face was covered in frost. Uncontrolled class mental energy radiated outward, causing metal ornaments in the room to creak under the pressure. Neutrality policy? Anna let out a cold laugh. They cut off my food supply, and you speak to me of neutrality? It was Lin Fun's tomatoes and cucumbers that allowed her to taste genuine food again and rediscover joy in living. Now someone intended to deprive her of that sustenance. This was no longer a commercial dispute. It was an attempt to murder the Imperial heir apparent. I care nothing for the Mercenary Corps or Star Group. Anna turned and walked quickly toward her dressing chamber. Anyone who moves against Lin Fun must die. Connect to the mandatory galaxy-wide broadcast channel at once. Skip the Senate and activate my authority as first heir directly. Your Highness, the officer tried to offer further persuasion, silenced by a single sharp glance from Anna. 5 minutes later, terminals displaying all kinds of programs across the galaxy flickered black for an instant. Immediately afterward, a massive golden double-headed eagle royal crest filled every screen. Whether in prosperous central star regions or remote mining planets, signals for all public channels were forcibly seized. The picture cleared. Anna Augustus wore an elegant, crisp imperial military uniform, adorned with medals symbolizing the highest royal authority. She appeared before the eyes of the entire galaxy with a blank expression. She wasted no time on pleasantries and began her proclamation directly. I am Anna Augustus, first heir to the Empire. I hereby issue an imperial special decree. Effective immediately, planet Earth is officially designated an Imperial Royal Chartered Agricultural and Life Science Research Base, under absolute royal protection. Any armed interception, route blockade, or military threat directed at Earth and its surrounding orbital space. Anna paused, her gaze sharp enough to pierce through the screen. Shall be regarded as treason and a declaration of war against the imperial royal family. Offenders shall be executed without mercy. The moment the reading of the royal charter concluded, alarms wailed across the starship dock stationed in orbit outside the imperial capital. Thousands of meters long, the royal heavy cruiser dreadnought lit up with glaring cyan energy circuits across its armor. Accompanied by the engine roar of 3 escort frigates, the massive fleet tore open the cosmic void ahead. Its space jump drives activated at full power, targeting Earth orbit. The galactic net descended into chaos. Within 10 minutes, this mandatory broadcast triggered an upheaval far greater than the explosion at the Star Consortium laboratory that came before. Countless netizens flooded unlocked forums with posts. Holy hell, what am I witnessing? Her Highness the Princess has stepped in personally. Earth is a royal chartered base. What an insane twist. Boss Lin has latched onto the most powerful patron in the entire galaxy. Who dares attack a royal base? Are they suicidal? Inside conference rooms belonging to major corporate conglomerates, suited magnates stared at the charter on screen, wiping cold sweat from their brows. They had planned to follow the Star Consortium's lead and seize a share of resources on Earth. No one dared entertain that idea now. This was Princess Anna, known for her extreme isolationism and refusal to take sides in any factional conflict. Yet she had mobilized core strategic military forces for a disowned heir from a minor clan. Heads of noble houses held emergency meetings overnight to reassess Lin Feng's standing. The man once cast aside as worthless by his family had become the most untouchable figure across the stars. Near Earth orbit, 3 heavy armed destroyers of the Blackwater mercenary group hovered in battle formation, looming ostentatiously beyond the atmosphere. The group's leader sat in the command cabin, watching empty flight paths on the radar and downing a swig of spirits with a self-sneer. Boss, there's no movement from Earth at all. They haven't even raised their planetary shield, the adjutant reported. The leader let out a scoff and activated the public communication channel. Lin Feng, you coward. Weren't you so bold earlier? I'm camped right here today. Come out and face me if you dare. He turned to the weapons operator. Charge the main cannon to minimum power. Fire 2 shots at the edge of Earth's atmosphere. Make some noise for our farmer friend and rattle him. The operator had just placed his hand over the firing trigger when the calm void ahead rippled violently, as if some colossal entity was forcing its way into the region. Warning. Extreme energy spatial fluctuation detected. Warning. Massive mass signature incoming. Shrill alarms blared throughout the command cabin. The leader's face twitched, and he shot to his feet. What's happening? The next instant, space split wide open. The royal cruiser dreadnought emerged from the jump channel, casting an immense shadow. The large golden double-headed eagle insignia emblazoned on its hull glinted chillingly beneath starlight. All 12 main cannons of the cruiser were primed, their dark barrels locked firmly onto the mercenary flagship. The overwhelming pressure of unmatched military might cause energy instability in the mercenary destroyer's shielding. The cold voice of the royal cruiser's commanding officer echoed across the public channel. This is the Imperial Royal Fleet vessel Dreadnought. Armed craft ahead. You have illegally entered the airspace of a royal chartered base. Disarm and cut all engine power within 10 seconds, or you will be eliminated on the spot. 10. 9. Staring at the utterly lopsided firepower comparison displayed on the radar, cold sweat soaked the leader's back. Fight. They stood no chance. A single volley from the enemy would leave nothing of his 3 vessels. The 200 billion credit contract and the agreement with the Star Consortium meant nothing in the face of the cruiser's main cannons. 8. Retreat. Full engine overload. Get us out of here. The leader shrieked in panic, fleeing without a single parting threat. The 3 destroyers risked catastrophic engine overload, carving 3 desperate arcs through space as they raced toward the depths of the asteroid belt. Star Consortium monitoring room. Carl stared rigidly at footage of the mercenaries fleeing without engaging, alongside the enormous cruiser holding position over Earth orbit. It's over. Darkness swam before Carl's eyes, and his chest burned. Ugh. He coughed up a mouthful of blood and slumped back into his wheelchair. Military intervention was a suicide mission. Information suppression was useless now that the royal charter had been issued. No one would dare oppose it. The Star Consortium was already reeling from massive losses caused by their failed technology experiment, and now faced annihilation for provoking the royal family. Flight routes surrounding Earth were fully reopened. Just 2 hours later, more than 20 heavy transport ships belonging to Star River Fleet followed behind the royal frigates, sailing in formation to dock at the spaceport on Earth's farm. Hatches slid open. Vast quantities of high-grade energy or advanced engineering materials, gravity generators, and more poured out in an endless stream. Professor Murphy rushed into the unloading zone like an excited madman, throwing his arms around a core component of an anti-gravity base. Ha! The materials have arrived. My laboratory can be completed at last. The backyard of the farm. Lin Feng sat in a rocking chair, holding a fresh cucumber still bearing its blossom. He took a crisp bite, the crunch echoing across the yard. He glanced toward Anna, who was picking tomatoes nearby. Your Highness the Princess, Lin Feng said after swallowing, speaking without restraint. Your royal fleet is far too slow. You were over an hour late. You've held up my seedling watering schedule. The military attendant standing behind Anna nearly popped his eyes out of his head. Was this man out of his mind? The princess had nearly clashed with the Senate and deployed the dreadnought for his sake. Instead of expressing profound gratitude, he complained about the fleet's tardiness. Anna frowned slightly. She had taken an unprecedented risk to intervene, yet this man treated her royal fleet as mere hired sentries. Lin Feng, do you understand the consequences of me issuing this charter? Anna's tone turned heavy, carrying a note of warning. Of course I do, Lin Feng replied, settling more comfortably into the chair. It means I no longer need to live in constant fear of pirates and predatory corporations. I owe you a great favor. His tone shifted, becoming practical and earnest. That said, I have never liked accepting favors for free, nor do I enjoy being indebted to others. I will lease control of Earth's near orbit to the royal fleet, to serve as your permanent anchorage and resupply station. Lin Feng held up one finger and waved it gently in the air. I don't ask for galactic credits as rent. Instead, I will supply 100 gene of specially cultivated high-grade mental stabilization crops each day to cover security fees. What do you think? Anna froze. She had expected Lin Feng to attach himself to the royal family and become her subordinate. Instead, in this casual manner, he had redefined their relationship from a protector and ward into a formal commercial lease and cooperation. He was making it clear. They stood on equal footing, neither owing the other. A flicker of irritation rose in Anna, and she prepared to argue against this unreasonable proposal. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, Lin Feng drawled. I've unlocked a new crop, strawberries. Juicy and sweet, tart. Their ability to soothe S-class mental instability is 3 times greater than tomatoes. The words Anna had been about to say died in her throat. Her mind fixated on only one thought. Sweet, tart, juicy fruit. Deal. Anna agreed without hesitation, fearing Lin Feng might change his mind. 100 gene. Not a gram less. No problem. I'll make you a nice meal tonight to make up for the wait. Anna's irritation vanished instantly. Wonderful. What are you preparing? You'll find out this evening. Anna nodded obediently and returned to picking tomatoes. Lin Feng smiled to himself. The crisis was resolved. He had secured a top-tier defensive force while establishing equal standing in their partnership. Still, Lin Feng knew in his heart he could not rely on the royal family forever. He needed military strength and independent economic power of his own.